Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Here we go. Daniels, flushed. Daniels, end zone, caught! Kansas wins it! Jared Casey, the hero, and the Jayhawks find a way.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here comes the Penn State blitz. Lots of running room down the sideline. Eric All, the tight end. Will they catch him? No! Touchdown, Michigan, and the lead with 3.5 to go.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Travis delivers. Parchment down to the 1. Parchment atoning for that earlier error. 24 yards on the cusp of scoring.
And would you look at that? When you need it the most, Jordan Travis steps up and he uses his arm on 4th and 14.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
My goodness. One of the biggest challenges of a show on a Monday during college football season, when you have games coming up this week, when you have so much going on, is how do you get to it all? The lines are open for you right now. We have a lot to get to, including the highlights of what you heard over the weekend in college football. The stunning loss, yet again, for Texas to Kansas. Baylor flexing their muscles. And they beat up Oklahoma in that game 27-14. Oklahoma State crushed TCU. Iowa State loses on a 62-yard field goal, and they have Oklahoma next. The state of Mississippi, holla. What a weekend for Mississippi State and Ole Miss. And also games this week, Michigan State, Ohio State, Cincinnati host SMU, Arkansas, Bama, among others. Man, we have a lot to get to. David Smoak, Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right. How do you want to start this, guys? Stick your head in the tank of gasoline and light it with a match.
Man, I mean, we covered Baylor. Let's start off with Baylor beating Oklahoma. That is clear and away the biggest game for us. You know, we got a lot of fans around the country that are probably, you know, big on the Ole Miss or Mississippi State or wherever you want to go. But Baylor just beat Oklahoma for the 4th time in school history on Saturday and made them like it. And not only that, but made it kind of rough on them at the end as well, to the point to where their head coach really looked bad after the game, quite honestly. Not the team that kicked the field goal at the end. The coach who talked about it afterwards, I think, looked bad, and I think that reaction was very obvious outside of Oklahoma fans. You know, a lot of people taking digs at Riley for taking issue with Dave Aranda kicking a field goal and calling a timeout with 1 second left. But that was an incredible atmosphere on Saturday. I mean, that was the best game I've seen in McLean Stadium in probably several years, just in terms of the game itself. And the atmosphere. I thought, you know, a lot of Oklahoma fans brought it. There was a lot of crimson and cream, but there was a lot of green and gold as well. I just thought that the whole day, from the weather to the atmosphere in the pregame to the stakes that were on the line, I mean, that was college football at its best, in my opinion. I mean, that's exactly what you want as a college football fan. It wasn't the result Oklahoma fans wanted, But I think both fan bases could walk away and go, you know what, that was a good one on Saturday. Even if OU didn't play, to the level of what maybe fans expected or what have you, everybody can walk away, or everybody at home who was watching go, that was a damn good college football game right there.
Yeah, I think Lincoln Riley had a justification to be angry at the referees for not controlling the situation.
Certainly.
And you're getting the field stormed and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you have to send 11 guys out there again and all of that. I get that's be mad at the refs for not controlling that moment in that situation and not making it clear that they were calling a timeout with 1 second left, and then Baylor wouldn't have had to clear the field, and there wouldn't have been all that chaos. And then, especially the moment for the Baylor students would have kind of lost a little bit of its spice when you storm the field and then have to go stand on the sideline while they kick a field goal that has something to do with the Big 12 tiebreaker, which probably means nothing to the kids in the moment. But to go into the locker room, to go into the media room and then be mad because they kicked a field goal, knowing they weren't running. I mean, he knew they weren't running up the score. If they're running up the score and they had 1 second, why not wait till Oklahoma? Because they don't have to have anybody on the field. Why not just score a touchdown with 1 second left? You're running up the score.
David Aranda mentioned this, that one of the reasons that it set it up, when he was disappointed in the fact that his defense gave up a touchdown, otherwise there would have not been that discussion. They would have already had the double-digit plus lead.
Yeah, that was the thing, is they gave up a very easy touchdown drive after they had pretty much sealed the game, and that's why they had to kick the field goal. If the defense had gone out there and just stopped them as they did all day long, over and over and over again, then they wouldn't have had to have had the whole fracas there at the end. It was a weird situation because you could feel that place ready to explode, and it's like there was just a split second missing to where you would have had that perfect pop, people running on the field, and I don't know that anybody should have expected Dave Aranda to call a timeout right there. That's why he's Dave Aranda, and he's a head football coach, and he's thinking of those types of things, whereas fans are just like, hey, you beat Oklahoma, that's a big deal. He's sitting there going, you know what, now that they scored a touchdown, I have to kick a field goal here to have the proper, point margin and all that. So, that was a weird way to end the game, no doubt about it, but it was a cool scene afterwards for Baylor fans, and I think that's certainly going to be a game people remember for a long time. And on Lincoln Riley, he wasn't mad about them running up the score. He was mad about just the situation as a whole, and he cited player safety and what have you, but I know there's people who have pulled some receipts on him. So, that's something that I think came across as sort of a bad look. Even a lot of Oklahoma fans were like, Lincoln, just shut up and move on. You know?
In fact, Armstrong, the quote from Lincoln Riley in 2018, listen, I can understand he's pissed off. I can understand he's frustrated. He also probably was more upset with his team and performance because they got turned around like a pretzel. Even though that game was very competitive for a long, long time, Baylor dominated them. 66-33. In that game, Oklahoma kicked a field goal with 1:20 to go in the game. And okay, I don't have a problem with that either. However, there was a hit on Charlie Brewer late in that game. And again, it was a legitimate hit. Caleb Kelly knocked him basically out of the game. In the question in the post game, his answer was he worried about Charlie Brewer? No, it's football. If you're going to be back there passing, we're going to try to hit you. It's the same thing with the game. It's not as if, and listen, my favorite team used to score 75 points against people, beat the hell out of people. Sometimes their fourth team was better than starters. It's part of the game. I think Lincoln was just frustrated. I think he was just frustrated. And again, I'm not a big rushing the field guy. I want to say this, though. I'm not going to bring that up as a negative. You know why? We have pounded that Baylor fan base. We have pounded those students. We have pounded them about getting geeked up. They were amazing on Saturday. I mean, you brought it. And secondly, go enjoy it. Somebody stormed the field on you. You stormed the field. It was a huge moment, and I think the SEC stuff probably played into it as well. I have no problem. I would rather not. But I think in this case, okay, do what you want to do and enjoy it.
All right, a couple things here. Yes, absolutely, hats off to the Baylor fans. We have been riding them, you know what, and deservedly so a lot of the time. But part of the reason why is because that's what it can be like. That's what home field advantage can be like. That's why there's frustration sometimes when there's not people there, is because look how good this damn football team is. Like, look how good this staff is, and look how big of a game this is, and that's where the frustration lies. It's not in a lack of support or things like that. It's in this is how it could always be. Like, you could have a real home field advantage. You can be a tough place to play more often than you are. And so I think it was just great to see that. And hopefully a lot of people looked around and went, you know what? It's pretty cool. Like, we should, this is how it should always be. And I know it won't always be that way when you got a Texas Southern rolling into town. People aren't going to get geeked up for them. But still, I think that was just a tremendous atmosphere once again. And as far as the end of the game, by narrowing all that happened on Saturday down to just that simple sequence, which wasn't so simple at the time, we're probably doing what Lincoln Riley wants us to do and not really focusing on the fact that his team got their ass kicked.
Yeah.
And, I don't care what happened at the end of the game. Baylor won that game straight up. You can, if you want to, pick apart why they kicked the field goal, whatever, that's fine. But that is like number 11 on the list of things that came out of that game, in my opinion, and definitely not the focus.
I want to show you a play that, to me, says a lot about Baylor's effort and who they were Saturday as well. Now, there's other plays like this. One, I guess back 8 games ago, there was Khalil Keith racing down the field 50-plus yards to help lead a long run. Here is a play, and you could take the audio out of – go. This is the call from Fox Sports. Baylor – at Oklahoma, Caleb Williams was tied up like a pretzel, and even on this play, watch number 45 for Baylor. He's on the right-hand side of the defensive line. Watch what he gets through, what he deals with, and then goes and makes the play.
Who's good receiving out of the backfield. Caleb Williams now looks and knocked out of his hands. He picks it up, in trouble. Williams sacked at the 19. Whoa, what pressure. Bryson Jackson finally cleaned him up.
I want you, if you could, rack that up again. That's a play from Bryson Jackson. Watch him, he's knocked down, smashed down, double team, twisted around, down again, gets up, and gets to Caleb Williams. Now, it was ruled an incomplete pass. Matt Jones had gotten to him. He tried to throw, lost control of it. It ended up being an incomplete pass. But that effort right there is insane. Beat up. And somehow, had the play not been ruled ineligible, he still made the sack. That was the play. That's how that defense played on Saturday.
That defense, the very first drive, came out and said, you're not going to just run all over us or throw all over us or do whatever you think you're going to do all over us. We're going to stop you more often than you're going to be able to get yardage. And they proved that time and time again. They made Caleb Williams. I said this line in my little power rankings. I'm a Caleb Williams fan. Clearly, he's got a long way to go in his development. And a lot of talk last week was about the fact that, hey, yeah, he's looked really good. A lot of times, though, he's making these, like, off-the-cuff plays, like Johnny Manziel, Patrick Mahomes style, where it's just, like, throw it up and pray, but it works more often than it doesn't. But there's a lot of elements of his game as a true freshman that are missing right now. And I think they finally, the talk last week was about, yeah, Oklahoma looks good and all, but we all know about their warts. We all knew what they were, and they got exposed on Saturday in a major way by Dave Aranda and company. But, that was a team that has pretty much played – some solid defense throughout, but I just think Baylor came out from the very get-go and said, you know what, Caleb Williams, we're going to see how good you are. And they got in his face and in his grill, and he did not know how to handle it whatsoever. Had a couple bad picks. To the point where Spencer Rattler had to come in at the end of the game. That was an incredible performance from Ron Roberts' defense. And I think it was not only the coaching and how they defended Oklahoma, but it was what you just showed. It was the effort and the energy that the players had. It was clear that TCU game was no hangover. If anything, it was, fuel for this team because they came out hair on fire from the first whistle and played that way all throughout the game in all phases, but particularly on defense.
Well, the defense controlled the entire game because it wasn't what you call a banner day for the offense. They had a good day, especially in the second half when they quit trying to do things that just weren't working at all. They okay, this isn't going to work, or this is open. We're going to let Gary Bohannon run on call designed quarterback keepers more often, and that's what really opened up their offense in the second half. But it was the defense, the offense left probably 17 points out on the field in the first half, and most of the time you can't do that against Oklahoma and win. You cannot do it against Oklahoma and win, and they did because every time they left points on the field, they just made sure Oklahoma didn't score. It's just every time. Okay, well, those points are on the field, and that's where they died. Everything dies right there. Those are the only points that were available to be scored, and they're not available for the other team, and that was kind of how it was.
I think a huge part of what they were able to do early on, at least, and you guys agree or not, but the field position, I think, was really huge early on. They kind of had Oklahoma backed up a little bit at times and had to make them work for it, and that's where you got, like, the Caleb Williams having to throw out of the end zone to avoid the safety that turns into a Kalen Barnes interception. They were hair on fire. I don't want to overuse that term, but that's the one that keeps coming into my head because, it was evident from the very get-go. So, yeah, just an amazing job by the players to get ready, but a great job as well by the coaches, I think, all across the board. Even, Paul, you mentioned the offense getting off to a slower start. Like you said, though, for a slow start, they left 17 points on the field. So I think we'd probably be viewing that a little bit differently. And Grimes rope-a-doped them. Where Grimes set it up, they kept cracking at the run. OU did a good job of shutting down the run for a good portion of that game. Bohannon made a couple of throws that they needed him to make. But then in the second half, they unleashed Gary. And like they haven't done that all year long. Every week we get questions about Gary Bohannon, right? When are they going to let Gary run? When are they going to let Gary run? And it's like, well, he's not Michael Vick, but he can run. And when they started getting him on design runs, Oklahoma just had no answer for that. I mean, they didn't know what to do about that. They left Alex Grinch kind of on skates, and I just thought that was a brilliant job by Jeff Grimes.
All right, now I got a little nugget about how physical they are. And again, not everybody does this anymore in football. There's so much lack of contact. That doesn't mean teams don't get physical. That doesn't mean you don't have midline drills or whoever. But I got to know, and I'm going to ask David Rand. I had a chance to visit with him earlier today on many things, from someone burning his waffles to the middle seat in an airplane, when he compares to whatever you're dealt with, deal with it, move on, and get better. And he used that as an example. But I was told that on Tuesdays, the Baylor football team, offense against defense, they line up pads, 16 to 20-plus plays. It's a bloodbath. I mean, it is that's the term I was given, a bloodbath. It's on Tuesday afternoons where they line up, and one of the reasons they were doing that is, one, it can build tremendous team chemistry once you get past the egos. It's about, you're going to get physical, they're going to hit you in the mouth, you got to hit them back, and sometimes the offense wins, sometimes the defense wins, sometimes it's a straight up, and it's about trying to keep bodies off the ground. Quick whistle. For example, you run a play, Abram Smith right up the gut. Quick whistle. As soon as there's any kind of contact. It's not like the quarterback with a colored jersey, like a red jersey. This is absolutely a bloodbath from what I've been told, and I asked David Rand about it because you don't hear about that much anymore in football.
Well, I think if there was some kind of action movie scenario where the Baylor football team had one task to complete to keep a bus from exploding in the past few years, and if it was getting first down on 3rd and 2 or less, like that bus would have blown up.
Yeah.
Like you get 50 opportunities, the bus would have blown up. They could not get it. And it's such a strange thing. Derek Smith, was my roommate for a long time. He's a big Indianapolis Colts fan, and he had thought up some sort of stat for the longest time over how much time the Colts, after Edgerrin James left, could not get a first down on 3rd and 1. Their percentage was like 20% over like a 6-year period where they just couldn't do it. Baylor was very much like that, where if it was 3rd and short, they had to throw the ball. And they even had to throw the ball like 11 yards and not 7 yards because they couldn't even do that. So that part of that, you just build that in the line, and this line is completely, if you had told me this was 5 different human beings on the offensive line than it was last year, I would believe you, even though I know that it's not.
Yeah, no, it's a night and day. I mean, that was my big concern coming in, was just how much the offensive line could improve, because it had been the dregs for, at least 2 or 3 years now. I know Rule and company did what they could, but I mean, it never got to the point. Even though they got to a Big 12 championship game a couple years ago, that offensive line was, all due respect to those guys, was average at best, right? I mean, it was not like some blow-away offensive line. The offense as a whole just kind of could do some things when they needed to, but mostly they were a defensive football team. But now you got an offense that actually is, not as much of a strength as your defense, but pretty close. Like, one of the quotes I saw Tyquan Thornton after the game was, he's like, how about that brand of complimentary football? And that's what I walked away from. That was complimentary football at its finest between the Baylor offense, defense, and special teams. So I just thought it was a lights-out effort. I think that, the call to kind of, as they would say, keep pounding the rock with the run, Gary only threw it, 17 times? Only had 17 attempts on the day?
Yeah, he had like a little over 100 yards passing.
Yeah, but
but over 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, I mean, he had the 2 interceptions, but one of those, or the one interception, that wasn't his fault. It looked like a receiver stopped running their route when I saw some people go back and review that, so you can't even really put that on his head. So, yeah, he didn't have to throw it all that much, but they kept, trying to get through, and they had their opportunities or the left points on the board. But, again, in that second half, when they came out and let's unleash Gary, and the way that opened up Abram Smith, and the way that opened up, the receivers to make some tough catches to keep the chains moving, is just I thought the coaching staff, for as much as TCU was a downer for a variety of reasons, I thought the Baylor coaching staff did an incredible job across the board, and I thought the players responded in kind.
I made this comment, but I'll give Donnie Hand. Oklahoma State just absolutely humiliated TCU and looked good doing it.
They're
the
good,
Texas
man.
Tech 62-yard field goal to beat Iowa State and break them. Along with what happened with Kansas and Texas, which is something that a lot of you are in the chat room. Donnie, what's better than watching one for sure Heisman winner? He said suck it in a game. How about two? Because, Caleb Williams, there was discussion about whether or not he had played enough and was doing well enough to be a part of the Heisman race. That's done. And Spencer Rattler started as the favorite. And, of course, that's been done. Speaking of which, Texas running back Bijan Robinson, dislocated elbow, out for the year. Cornerback Josh Thompson, fibia fracture, out for the year. There's a chance Whittington comes back for Texas this weekend. And Jonathan Brooks out this weekend, the running back that was such a great player a year ago in high school. How about that game? We'll get into that. Take that from you. Texas Tech, Donovan Smith, the freshman quarterback, was fantastic in their win against Iowa State on a 62-yard field goal to win the game at the buzzer. There's so much going on, but I wanted to update those Big 12 numbers. And Bo Nix out for the year, Auburn's quarterback in the loss to Mississippi State.
Yeah, before we get into the other ones of Texas especially, but Baylor, is the thing, it doesn't get any easier for them this week. They've got to go up to Manhattan and play a team that's found itself in Kansas State. Now, Kansas State, if you look at where they lost earlier in the year, they lost to the better teams in the Big 12. So if you go by that, this is a good matchup for Baylor, but Baylor's been bad on the road, whether the team they're playing on the road is good or bad. So
Yeah, once they beat Oklahoma, I actually started thinking about Dave Aranda and who he's beaten, and I actually put a little chart together and to take a look at who all he's beaten so far in the Big 12. And there's three teams that he has not beaten yet, and it is Texas Tech, it is TCU, and it is Oklahoma State. So now that he's beaten, Oklahoma, he's beaten Texas, beaten West Virginia, all those teams this year, Iowa State. So those are the only three teams he has not beaten. Obviously, they're not going to beat TCU at the earliest until next year. They can knock out Tech here in a couple of weeks, and they should, in my opinion, even though Tech does look a lot better. And that was a great win for them on Saturday. But who is it? TCU, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State, they could get in a rematch in the Big 12 championship game, which they're now in line for with that win over Oklahoma, so long as they handle their business. But the thing about that stat is, not that he's now beaten 6 of 9 Big 12 teams. It's the fact that only one of those teams has he beaten on the road, and that's Kansas. That's the only team they've beaten on the road in Big 12 play in the little less than 2 seasons. So that's the stat that has to change. Because if you get these big wins at home, that's great. That's good. You feel good. But if you turn right around and you go to Manhattan and you get whooped or you lose, then it's just kind of all for naught in the grand scheme of things. You would blow a huge opportunity that you didn't think you were going to have before last Saturday necessarily. You thought that maybe you had already lost it. You've regained it. And now you can ill afford to play the way that you have on the road. So I don't know what the disconnect has been there for them, other than it's just tough to play on the road and play good teams on the road. But whatever it's been, they got to find the key to success in translating that game on Saturday to playing a game like that in Manhattan, because that's the one hurdle they have not yet been able to cross.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that can be a tough place. RG3 went up there one year, and they didn't come out alive. Here's a couple of texts to get to. 254-339-1122. We'll roll these off and then respond. 440 on behalf of all G5 schools. May we share a laugh at the expense of Oklahoma. The 915 from Dustin. Is it a legit debate to make an argument that UT San Antonio being a better football team than Texas and maybe the best in the state? That's an argument. Yeah, you could discuss that. It's an argument. They won again, came from behind to win. But it's an argument, but we'll never get to know the answer.
No, I think if you were, you could make a case for A&M, even though they lost again. You could make a case for Houston. You could make a case for Baylor. You could make a case for SMU. So I think there's a handful of teams you could make a case for. I think Baylor's, right there at the top as far as the argument goes. But, yeah, UTSA, they should also be in the conversation. And if it's them in Texas right now on a field, and I'm probably taking UTSA, why wouldn't I? I mean, why wouldn't I? Based on what we've seen here is 5 straight losses? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm not taking the team that's lost 5 straight games, and that 5th one was to Kansas at home. Yeah, I'll take UTSA in that matchup if they were to line up this Saturday. Absolutely.
All right, here's another one. I admit I'm still hoarse from that Baylor-Oklahoma game. After the game, there was Pizza Hut boxes on the counter, so I took one. Scotty, he also was there for the national championship banner that was lowered on Friday night. That was an amazing experience. From the 864 from South Carolina. I drive by Baylor Stadium every once in a while to visit my son in Austin. Looks like a really fun stadium to watch a football game. It's a gorgeous view. From Baylor students, trolling Oklahoma, we want Spencer. Thought that was funny.
Well, Craig mentioned this to me at the time, and his point was very solid in that, like, look, I get you're trying to make fun of him, except right now you don't because Caleb Williams is playing bad.
Right.
So you should be cheering on Caleb Williams because Caleb could not get out of his own way.
Yeah, I mean, I get that it probably, to him, if he heard it, I'm sure he heard it, is, like a little bit of that hurts. But really, it's, why are you rooting for a new quarterback to come in when you're kicking the hell out of the one that's in the game right now? You should please stay in. Caleb should have been the champ because he had nothing for the Baylor defense. I mean, nothing at all for the Baylor defense. So, that was kind of a dumb chant, but I know that the fans were having fun, and I'm not going to, you make too much fun of it because, hey, I would rather them be chanting and having fun than not be there.
Yeah,
So
I agree. That's what I talked about with the storming of the field. I'm not a big fan of that, but at the same time, man, they have go. And they did. Carl Adams, I heard the SEC only invited Texas because they're trying to get Vanderbilt an easy win. It's a good time to kick them. If you don't like them, it's a good time not to, they're not good. And that loss to Kansas was beyond. We'll have a guest, Jesse Newell, covers KU everything. He'll join us today at 3:45.
I said in my write-up for Sick'em 365 that November 13th now needs to be an unofficial Big 12 holiday with what we saw on Saturday. I mean, for Kansas and Baylor, I mean, when you really think about it, not only did Oklahoma and Texas lose, Oklahoma obviously a big game that had playoff implications and championship game implications. I mean, they turn around and lose this weekend to Iowa State, and Baylor handles their business. Oklahoma's out of it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, when's the last time we haven't seen them play for a title? So there was that. And then Texas is like, there's no way they can get any lower than what they are right now. Pole assassin and, 4 straight losses. And they lose to Kansas.
At home.
At home. Of all teams to lose to, they lose to Kansas. So were there any two teams that took more head kickings than Baylor and Kansas in football over the Big 12's history?
Nope.
No. And who are the teams that always get lauded? Those two. So, I was sitting there going, like, this is the unofficial Big 12 holiday from now on. Given the events of this summer, Kansas and Baylor beating Oklahoma and Texas, Bob Bowlesby should mark that date. But, I mean, that was tough for those two teams. And you know what? That's what you kind of expected this summer when all that happened. There was a lot of ha, 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 Big 12, ha, ha, ha. You guys suck. You're going to fall apart. Losers are going to go to D2. I mean, I saw it all.
In fact, go ahead.
Yeah, and I saw that for months leading into this season. And, all the arrogance and cockiness over it. And you know what? Karma.
Here is, in fact, from Blake Robinson. Blake goes, yep, Baylor and Kansas won, but Texas and Oklahoma are about to be in the money and leave those two behind in the poorhouse. Blake, if there was ever a quote, a comment or an opinion on our chat room showing the entitlement and what really you care about, that was it.
Well, Blake, is that money going in your pocket?
Yeah, you don't get a nickel of it.
Are you getting more money because they're going to the SEC?
What? I mean, seriously, Blake, does that make you feel better? Because is that where you have to cling on to now that you're going to make more money? You're already making more money than everybody in the world. Why does that matter to you?
I would say this. I would be, excited, I guess, about the money. Again, you don't get any of it, but I guess when you go to the stadium, they'll have newer lights and newer seats for you to sit in, so that's how it comes back around to you ultimately. But I don't know, man. I would be pretty disappointed. I mean, to be flaunting like they were over the summertime after Big 12 Media Days to now you got Texas losing 5 straight and losing to Kansas at home. You got Oklahoma, who's been looking like a team that was on the ropes, in ways, and teams just couldn't finish them off. And Baylor just hit the uppercut of all uppercuts. And now, if you're them, you got to worry about losing these next two. Mm-hmm. Iowa State's no gimme. At all. So, in Oklahoma State, certainly, I'm taking Oklahoma State all day, every day right now in that game.
And that's in Stillwater.
And I would take them in Norman.
Yeah.
But I'd definitely take them in Stillwater. So, that's fine, and all that. But I'd also be a little bit nervous about the fact of, the Big 12 sucks so much. What do you think is going to happen in the SEC if you're losing games like Kansas at home and to the Baylors of the world who are so below you? Well, have fun with the Alabamas and the Auburns and the A&Ms and all the rest of those cats as well. So that money might be great, but if the success they had in the Big 12, well, at least one school had in the Big 12 doesn't translate, I want to revisit this in about 5 years when they're
kind of like a signing class.
500.
When it looks like you're a number top 10 class, and then they don't do not much with it. And UT has felt that wrath as well.
Yeah.
Carl Adams, also Aaron Wilson, thanks for the super chat as well. We got the text line, phone lines open. Coming up next, 254-339-1122. As you heard Paul, it's time for a break. I don't know what we're going to next. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
BetUS.com, the 3-decade leader. Use our promo code Sikkim125 and Sikkim200. That's Sikkim125 and Sikkim200 for BetUS.com. It's a 125% bonus on cash or 200% on cryptocurrency. And it's the best time to bet. Now, we don't have baseball right now, but you've got the NBA, college basketball, the NFL, college football. You've got the NHL. You've got boxing and UFC going on. You've got PGA events. You've got all kind of things around the world. Heck, you had soccer all the time, but you had USA and Mexico and Christian Pulisic, the man in the mirror the other day, taunting that. You could have bet on that game all night long, and probably a bunch of people won money betting on U.S. To win 2-0 the other night in the World Cup qualifier. BetUS.com has all that action. Use our promo code Sikkim125 and Sikkim200.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It's the Black Friday sales event going on now. Come see the beautiful, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock at Allen Samuels. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on now and no payments for 90 days. First responders get an extra $500 cash. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the Bet US hotline, 254-339-1122.
From Ron, Baylor has become the antithesis of the neighbors to the south, all grit, no bull. Well, that's something that obviously they are right now. They're struggling. How about, there's some words that I had on text messages throughout the weekend from the 281. Aranda is officially the Boris Spassky of college football. Of course, the great chess player. Here's another one. Aranda is no ankle-biting terrier. He's a Doberman. He just flat out bit Oklahoma in the blank. My kind of dog. Let's see here. Here's another. There was another one. I've seen enough. To quote elections analyst Dave Wasserman, Dave Aranda is the best coaching candidate among all the various realistic possibilities. Now, I've gotten a lot of you that have asked about that. There's no question he is a hot name and has earned it. And I know that there's still some concern. I wrote something in yesterday's Sikkim 365 premium section. I know that you're probably PTSD when it comes to coaching changes, especially in football, but I would enjoy the journey. I would. Enjoy what you have in front of you right now. And I don't feel like, I know, man, money. I was back and forth with somebody. I can't hear myself. Sorry. Back and forth with somebody today about that. And I said, hey, in due time, we'll see what happens. But can you focus on Kansas State? Dave Aranda is doing a pretty damn good job of focusing on it. I know that moms and dads can read stuff too. But I think what they dealt with last week, in fact, he discussed it with the change in the coaching staff with Joey McGuire leaving. And he does say that. I asked him about that today on the one-on-one. And it hurt him. It hurt him because it was so out of the norm of coaching changes. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, 254-339-1122.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm not, going to stress over what could or could not happen. You want to do that with Baylor football, then you got to, I guess stress over every single week. It's just not a situation that I'm all that worried about, to be clear. If, USC comes calling or whoever it is, fine. If Aranda's interested, fine. We'll see when that happens. But for the time being, he's the head coach at Baylor. I think he's going to be the head coach at Baylor for a while. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do think that, and I think he's a damn good coach. Now, I think he needs to go prove that his teams can win on the road. I don't think they've shown that yet. That'd be one thing if I'm a school.
He brought that up today.
If I'm a school that's hiring, if you're doing your due diligence, then you got to look at, oh yeah, this record looks great. How's he on the road? Oh, well, that looks a little bit different. So that's the focus for him and for this entire football program right now. Not rumor mills and all that stuff. Besides, agents take care of that behind the scenes anyway. So he's going to remain a head coaching candidate for a lot of openings that they come up. All the big ones, they're probably going to all mention him at some point or another. But I'm not worried about it right now, and there's too many good things going on to sit there and fret over the unknown. And I'll say this too, there's certainly going to be some changes on this coaching staff. Like, there's no doubt about it because of the fact that you've already seen a couple, and there's going to be other schools that come calling, perhaps for Eric Mateos or Jeff Grimes or any number of guys on this staff with what they've shown this year. So there's going to be change, and because of that, I would just enjoy this journey, like you said, these next couple of games and then the bowl game as well. Enjoy this staff because Aranda did a hell of a job putting it together after getting it wrong the first time around. He nailed it on the second attempt, and there's some really good coaches on this staff right now that are going to eventually move on and do bigger and better things. But it's a really good group, even without the original lineup in action on Saturday. I felt like the outside linebackers didn't notice them. They seem to play well along with the rest of the defense, so kudos again to the staff.
Well, and look, some of the lower-run coaches might go, the grad assistants might go with Joey McGuire. I mean, some of the chemistry on the staff that was built this year might go. And look, if you're hiring for a head coach, why would you not want to consider Jeff Grimes given BYU's offense last year and Baylor's offense right now? And how much Baylor's offense turned around in a year with save one or two people, the same exact – well, I mean, the quarterback's different, but the same exact personnel up front, which the quarterback, even as much as Charlie Brewer struggled, the biggest reason he struggled is because he was getting hit every time he touched the ball. And those same offensive linemen are better because of Grimes and Mateos. So why would you not look into hiring Grimes as your head coach? Hell, Washington's open now. There's more in the water. So
Jimmy Lake out. We can kind of see that coming as well. 254-339-1122. Here we go. Paul?
All right, T-Rex, you're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. I haven't called in a long time other than post games. They actually make me work now. So got to be able to afford, tickets and stuff. So I guess I got to actually work. But wanted to call in here. What a weekend for Baylor Nation. Just great times. Everyone that was at the game obviously had a good time, especially the students. Talk about a change from week one to now with that student section. I don't know what y'all got in the water over there, but keep drinking it because that Kool-Aid's doing its work. Keep it up. Hope y'all go home for Thanksgiving, but get back to town Saturday morning for the Tech game, but we'll see how that works out. The one thing I want to say is how great it felt Saturday afternoon after the week before being on TV on row one in TCU and watching students. If you watched the game, you saw me standing there as students jumped the field around me as I just stood there with disbelief. How great it was to then jump the field the week later and stand on the 50-yard line in McLean. So enjoy that win, TCU, but I got it back. So shout out to Baylor football for giving me a selfish reason to be happy. That's all. Hope some of y'all make it up to Manhattan. Let's keep supporting this team. Let's increase that road presence. If you've never been to a road game, here's your last chance for a regular season road game. It's fun. Don't be afraid to go on the road. Don't be afraid to go behind enemy lines. And Manhattan, Kansas has probably got the nicest fans beyond BYU in the world. So just a bunch of good salt-of-the-earth farmers. Be a great time. Sigma Bears, get to Manhattan.
Thank you. Thank you, T-Rex. I've been to Manhattan to cover a game, and they get lit. I mean, they do. But that is what's next for Baylor on Saturday with Kansas State.
Well, to his point, yeah, I mean, what a departure from a week ago. It's amazing how things can change quickly. That was as bottom of the barrel, as low of a feeling I think as Aranda and staff have probably had in their year plus was that loss to TCU, even though they took a lot of lumps on the chin last year. That one was just so unexpected, and for a team that had been playing well to play and not execute when they needed to, it was just a bit of a shocker. And, give TCU and Chandler Morris a lot of credit. He certainly didn't play that way against Oklahoma State. I know that, but he does look like he's the guy of the future there for the Frogs. He just ran into a really good Cowboys defense. But, yeah, that's how crazy college football can be, of where you're down in the dumps 1 minute and then days later when it doesn't look like maybe there's a whole lot of hope, you have a team that rises up and plays their ass off and, goes and knocks off a team that they rarely if ever beat. So, I think every Baylor fan out there or any of the fan bases that won this weekend that needed big wins and got them, absolutely enjoy it, because just days ago you were feeling the complete opposite. So while you can, enjoy it while you can.
8 rushing touchdowns for Oklahoma State in that win against TCU. 8. Spencer Sanders almost flawless in that game, playing a lot of confidence. 53 yards rushing, 17 of 25, 235. I had somebody on the text line ask about what I thought about Oklahoma State. They were just incredible. They were absolutely incredible with what I watched them destroy, take apart, and just dismantle TCU.
I think what Mike Gundy and his staff have done with Spencer Sanders, part of it is, look, if you have 2 guys that can run for 100 yards in a game, you take any kind of pressure off Spencer Sanders to have to make a play. But making that a run-first offense, which it never was before, and a power offense, makes Spencer Sanders very effective. And you take the pressure off of him and don't have to tell him, hey, go make something ridiculous happen. He can play really confident. And you watched the other night, he played really confident.
Yep.
And so, because he knows, look, I'm going to turn around and hand it to a guy, and he's going to run up the field. And then my defense is going to go over there and hit the quarterback so hard, even when he didn't have he's not throwing the ball, when they're running the ball, that he's not going to want to go back out there. So I think that Oklahoma State, they're the best team in the Big 12, and like Craig said, Saturday proved that in 2 ways, in the way that they demolished TCU and the way that Oklahoma, lost to Baylor and showed that all of their warts. So, yeah, I think Oklahoma State's been very, very, very impressive.
From the 360, Craig hit it on the head. Enjoy it because it's short-lived. It's also the same guy that mentioned, y'all go ahead and kick us while we're down. Everybody making a big deal out of Oklahoma losing 1 loss because Where Oklahoma, we win with pride and also lose with pride, but just don't count us out, think we're done, from Joshua the 360. I don't think anybody on this show has ever kicked Oklahoma. I don't understand quite what you meant by that, Joshua. I have great respect for Oklahoma and their tradition. Absolutely great respect. But and you're right, Oklahoma, I don't know. Iowa State, you certain about that? Wouldn't surprise me. This is what they do. But Saturday, they were beaten up, turned into a pretzel by a team that was better in almost every phase of the game.
Yeah, maybe it just feels that way because you don't have to hear about Oklahoma after losses all that much, and it's the first time in a while because they had that crazy winning streak. But kicking while down, I don't get where you're coming from on that, and especially from my point of view.
Well, when you're not used to being kicked,
that's what I'm saying. It's like that must be what it is because, especially from my point of view, I'm certainly not trying to kick the Sooners while they're down. I was just very impressed by what Baylor did to Oklahoma, which is something that nobody else has been able to do for quite a while. So I think it's more of a, complimenting what Baylor did as opposed to kicking what Oklahoma did. Because if we really wanted to kick, we could really go in on Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley and his crying after the game. We could, if we wanted to kick, we could kick, but we're not.
By the way, we're about to talk to Jesse Newell on Kansas and their win against Texas. So MH5 on the chat room, we're about to take care of that in the next segment. Paul, one more call. We got a break.
Yeah, Diane, you are on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. Just wanted to say how exciting it was on Saturday to be there. To watch the pregame at the Sikkim 365 tailgate. I'm really looking forward to this coming week. Hope to see that we, as well as the men play Stanford and the women play Iowa State in volleyball. So Saturday's going to be a great day all around for Baylor Athletics.
And it Diane, thank you. It was on Friday night with the banner, the national championship banner, and then also turn around with the game against Oklahoma. Dennis Dodd, who was here covering the entire weekend, CBS Sports, he'll join us today at 4:30. Diane, glad you had a chance to enjoy a great weekend. And you're right, there's stuff coming up. Men's basketball winning earlier today. They blew out Nicholls State as they should, 89-60. Kendall Brown, 13 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, and Cryer had 20. When we come back, Jesse Newell covers Kansas on their win in Austin. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Right now, Dr. Kent Petty wants to help you become the high-performance man you used to be and maybe want to be and need to be, right? What's wrong with all three? Testosterone levels in your body change as you get older, and sometimes it's not when you turn 50 or older. It could be younger. Testosterone levels, it's your blood levels, the count that just drops. It happens. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, sleep habits, energy issues, and also what's going on with you in the bedroom. That happens. It's sometimes out of your control, but now it can be in your control. Talk to Dr. Kent Petty. Go to pettyclinicalot.com. Email him or contact him and his staff and say, hey, Smokey sent me. He'll get you set up to get your lab work. He'll look at the results, and if your testosterone levels are too low, he can put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels and get you back to being the man that you used to be, the man you want to be, and the man you need to be at pettyclinicalot.com.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
So recently, a northern transplant in our fair city came in to pick up outfitters for the first time, and he was starstruck. He told us that truck accessories were not needed in Illinois. I know, pick your jaw up off the ground. An entire state full of trucks driving around completely nude. Then he said he saw the light when he moved to Texas and found that in Texas, truck accessories were a necessity. I don't know about a necessity, but Texans have a whole different attitude about their trucks, and they give them their rightful place as a family member. I mean, what exactly do you use your truck for if you're not going to put anything on it? All this is a warning for the good people of Central Texas to stay diligent. Don't let your truck look like it came from up north. Put something on that truck, for goodness sakes. A bumper, a lift kit, some running boards. At Pickup Outfitters, we know what your truck needs. So come and see us at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or check us out on the web at createacommotion.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right. Jesse Newell, the Kansas City Star, covers Kansas, and what a weekend it was for Kansas football. Basketball has started, and KU and Bill Self are really good, as you can imagine, but the football team gets the highlights and the spotlight because of what happened in Austin, and Jesse joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So tell me the story about the kid that caught the 2-point conversion. He had not played an offensive snap entering that game. Is that right, Jesse?
Yeah, that's correct. Jared Casey from fittingly enough, Plainville, Kansas, about 2000 in northwest Kansas, and preferred to walk on, a redshirt freshman, but KU started to have some injuries, and he played on special teams. He was the signal caller for the personal protector unit, and also did some kickoff return stuff, but had not played an offensive snap in his KU career until that game against Texas. KU had another walk-on fullback go down with an ending injury last week, and then Mason Fairchild, the tight end they had, went down with an injury against Texas. So, yeah, they called the biggest play of the season, the biggest play, in about a decade for Kansas football. And in pops Jared Casey from Plainville, Kansas. And sure enough, he's waving his arms in the back of the end zone when the play breaks down. And Jalen Daniels finds him. He catches the pass. And what an amazing story. I talked to his parents yesterday, and they drove down there. They go to all his games, drove alone to make it. And their minivan that has 264,000 miles. So a pretty cool story from Lawrence, and he's the hero against the Longhorns this weekend.
Jesse, how big was that win for Lance Leipold in the future?
Well, I think it's important just because it gives him some cred, like some buy-in. I mean, you can talk about, hey, things are going to get better, things will turn, things, if you keep working at this, you're going to see results, but it's hard to preach that when you're getting beat down every week by other Big 12 opponents who aren't having those same results against other teams. So, especially in today's college football, it could be big because not only you're recruiting other players, but you're recruiting your own players. I mean, there's guys on Kansas roster right now that I'm sure will have options with other schools in the offseason if they want to immediately transfer and go away. I'm sure those SEC schools or Big Ten schools will say, hey, look, you played at Kansas and it wasn't very successful. Come to this school. We win some games here. And so for Lance Leipold to have that happen in this game, for the program to see the results, what can happen if you take your coaching, listen to the next man up mentality like Gary Casey did. I think that's important for them because now they can put that on every media guide, on every recruiting mail out that, hey, this thing is already starting to get built at Kansas, and this is the way. This is the place you want to be if you want to turn things around in a hurry and potentially play in a hurry as well.
Jalen Daniels playing quarterback on Saturday night, 200-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, also had a rushing score as well and nearly 50 yards on the ground. I know he's played a little bit, but they've had some injuries. So Jalen Daniels, I mean, what are the thoughts on him moving forward and what he was able to do in Austin on Saturday against Texas?
Yeah, it's a crazy scenario. He played a bunch of games last year for Kansas. First half of the season, he was only 17 years old when he did it. So super inexperienced then. Has a rocket for an arm, but, just still learning the system. I mean, any of us learning anything at 17 years old. I mean, in fact, that's one year after you learn how to drive a car. Now you're driving a Big 12 offense against defensive linemen, against Oklahoma, Texas, that sort of thing. But the plan was to redshirt him this year. So it's kind of fascinating. That was his 4th game. So he's still eligible for a red shirt. But, in the K-State game, both Jason Dean and Miles Kendrick, the first and second string guys for Kansas, both went down. So they threw Jalen Daniels in there, just you go to the next guy. But what do you do if you're Kansas now? I mean, you have all this momentum built up. You have this huge win against Texas. You got 2 games left. Do you throw Jalen Daniels out there and burn the red shirt year now just for these 2 games when you're going to be huge underdogs in both? Or, do you just keep the momentum and keep them out there and say, hey, roll with it, see if you can get another victory? And if things go as you hope, Jalen Daniels can still be your quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years. And then after that, you hope you've recruited somebody else in there. So that'll be something to track here. But he was fantastic. I was looking at the Pro Football Focus grades. It was the highest ranking for a quarterback for Kansas in the Pro Football Focus era. So nobody's ever rated that high in a single game than Jalen Daniels did against Texas. So, yeah, a spectacular performance from him and a big reason why Kansas won on Saturday.
Jesse, there was a time, and, of course, they were up 21. They were up 14. You could just see it just kind of melting away, and you just kind of could feel it. And the fact
the fans left at the end of the game after the interception. I thought it was over. Yeah.
There was a minute 9, and it looked like I'm not saying he was wrong because in the end, but do you feel like they got a little bit conservative on that last drive following the interception, not to just run the ball 3 times up the middle?
Yeah, it's funny you guys say that because I actually rushed down to the field after the interception because I wanted to get on the field for any video and photos and stuff like that. And obviously it was worth it to be down there because it was a crazy moment for state football. But I saw exactly what you were saying. Like, the people had left, and then they started they heard cheering. And so a bunch of people were cuddled around the TVs in the concourse. And then I had some trouble getting back in the stadium because there were so many fans rushing back into the stadium with me. Like, it was like the game was starting, not like the game was ending. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was crazy. But yeah, I mean, there were definitely some questionable decisions late. I think going for it on the 4th and 1 in their own territory was right, but they just had a pretty conservative play call there. So that could have been questioned. And then, after the interception, it seemed like Kansas had it sealed. The other thing that killed them was just really, really, really poor execution on the punt. To have a short punt, middle of the field to one of the most dangerous kicker or punt returners in the nation. That was not good for Kansas either. So a lot of things that could have been questioned, but as we know, to the victors go the spoils. And so, Lance Leipold's going to get all the credit in the world this week for beating Texas as he should, and those things didn't end up biting the Jayhawks.
Jesse, and for people who don't know, if you're DKR, from the press box down to the field there's not like an elevator straight down. It's weird kind of where you have to go. Like, yeah, you have to, if you had to change your plan, it's not easy to redo it.
Yeah, and I'm there for one game every 2 years. So I was going upstairs, downstairs, around stairs to level 1 or section 12. So yeah, if you know the inner workings of that, you know exactly how lost I was trying to get down the field, thinking I was going to miss what was a short one for Kansas, and then that's what happened. You ran it 3 times up the middle, punted, and then Texas scored on that game time drive. So you're right, it was kind of an adventure to get down there, but made more of an adventure because those Texas fans were trying to get back into their seats.
Jesse, what has Lance Leipold been able to do in terms of just, I know the term culture is thrown around a lot, but clearly that was a culture type of win, or a culture building win on Saturday. Why has he been able to do it differently than Les Miles or anybody who has been at Kansas football as of late? What is it about him that obviously I think some other schools are going to definitely take note of the fight Kansas showed on Saturday, but how has he been able to change the mindset, so to speak, and not have everybody think like, this is going to be the same old that it has been over the last few years?
Yeah. So when things go well for Kansas early in games, he has those guys that are playing hard. They absolutely do. And he's on against Oklahoma too. When Kansas got a little belief in itself, they really have to battle the psyche of this program. I wrote about this, but KU before Saturday had lost 56 straight road conference games. Guys, that was the longest streak ever in Division I history. The second longest streak is 44 by a college called Sewanee back from 1931 to 1939. So KU by a dozen games had this streak and will have this streak for the rest of eternity. So that's the sort of losing that gets ingrained in you. And when something goes bad, you start to think, oh my gosh, it's not going to get better. And so I think he's kept them believing. And I will say this about it as well. I mean, let's be still honest about Kansas's program here. They still were 31-point underdogs against a Texas team that lost 4 straight games. So they had some really good things happen. They had some things go their way. The program is not fixed by any measure, but they're taking the steps necessary to get to there. And for so long, Kansas, it seemed like they were trying to hire a flash. They were trying to hire a name. They were trying to cut corners when it came to hiring a football coach. And Lance Leipold is just not that. I think it was sort of refreshing when he was brought in because he's not the guy that's going to tell you about the pixie dust that he has. This match is going to turn you into a bowl team. He's not the guy that is going to have this just amazing, charismatic attitude where you say, oh my gosh, this is the guy that's won every press conference. I mean, Kansas needs something a little bit different because that's not as what has won for them in the past. And so I think that, step by step, he has a method, and I think most importantly, he sticks to it. Even after these big blowout losses, he said, hey, I've been at Buffalo, I've known how to turn these things around, and he's going to stick to the plan because he's seen it work in the past, and he's comfortable off in his own skin, that he's not going to change course and panic, maybe like some other KU coaches have done. So I've been really impressed by that. And again, we'll see where it goes. Your KU still has so much ground to make up to be close to the rest of the Big 12. But for a 9-0 show and everything went right for them, and that's how they got that upset victory.
We will have time later on. We'll worry about KU basketball. We know how loaded they are and what the Big 12 might be, once again, a sledgehammer. Jesse, thank you for your time. What a moment for KU and the Jayhawks and football program. Thank Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star with us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Jared Casey will go down in history for a long, long time from Plainville, Kansas. Caught the 2-point conversion. Had not played a snap on offense until tonight because of an injury.
Yeah, and that was a really cool video that was put out there, I guess, after the game of his parents' point of view on the complete opposite side of the stadium. And, his dad going, is that Jared? And then seeing him pop up after the scrum at the end and seeing his jersey number and just the pure, genuine, real joy in their voices was, it made me feel good. It's just pure positive emotions for their son, and that was awesome. And yeah, that was quite the scene. I mean, I was one of those that I saw Kansas get up big, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get my hopes up here and think that they're actually going to be able to pull this off. I've seen this before, and Texas is going to come roaring back, and certainly they did, and I thought, okay, well that's it then. And to Kansas's credit, man, they still kept fighting and were able to make a couple plays there at the end and get that win. And that was amazing. I know it was brutal loss for Texas. And we have to talk about the ramifications on their side because now there's a lot of questions about Steve Sarkisian suddenly and all that. But what a win. What a win for the Jayhawks and Lance Leipold.
It has been a long, long weekend, including into the day with Steve Sarkisian and UT with a 4-6 record. They got to win one of the last two to make it to a bowl game, and I'm not sure that will help them if they get there. When we come back, you can. It's an extra week of 3 weeks of practice.
4-6, they have to win one.
They have to win two more. They have to win their last two games to get to a bowl game. When we come back, Dave Aranda, Bruce Lee, Jedi, Socrates, Pluto, or what? Plato. That's what happens when you're JUCO.
Hey, Aranda could probably quote Pluto the dog from Disney and make it make sense, honestly.
During all the chaos at the end of the game when they stormed the field early, he never blinked. I asked him about that. Did he go to his inner Jedi? His thoughts, not just about Oklahoma, not really a lot about football, but about life and how it relates to football and vice versa. Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Coming up this Wednesday, you've got that concert I've been talking about for a long time. Discover Woodway is going to have the concert on Wednesday night. It's at the Arboretum. Jake Hoot and Sundance Head. Concerts at the Arboretum featuring Jake Hoot and Sundance Head. Both of them winners of that national TV show, the talent show called The Voice. You can go to discoverwoodway.com for more information and tickets. 7 o'clock is when the concert will begin. And as soon as this one's over, there'll be another one. What they've done there, Jesse Reed runs the marketing, has done a great job of setting them up for one concert after another for you to enjoy. There was the Halloween situation when they had it with the first responders and police officers. That was cool. They'll have something for the holidays as well, Thanksgiving all the way into Christmas and New Year's. They're doing a great job. I drove by their special events center, and of course they're going to have a bigger, better, faster one as well. Discover Woodway, where you have 7 hotels. Baylor, Texas Tech in 2 weeks, right? If you need a hotel, you're looking for one, it's like an 8 to 10 minute drive in the Woodway area for games involving Baylor football with Tech and or basketball games at the Farrell Center at discoverwoodway.com.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Choose your inbound vehicle, get on the list, and get your car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to choose your inbound vehicle today. Go to richardcarr.com for details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA Golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
3rd and 15 at the 43. And here's a little short pass to Ebner. Ebner with a first down and more! Down the sideline, out of bounds at the 15.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Backfield for Bohannon. He'll throw it. Now steps up. Wants to run. Bohannon to the corner. Touchdown Bears. Feet don't fail me now. Gary Bohannon with his best rushing performance of the season.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Baylor football coach Dave Aranda, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. When was the last time somebody burned your waffles?
No, I know. No, I just think there has been a lot of growth with our team, but I think that's one area that there's still a fair amount of work to be done, and I think it's natural. I think everyone likes the things the way they like them, and everyone wants a certain order, and you work really hard and you expect things to go a certain way, and when they're not, I think. It takes some discipline to not get derailed, especially when that thing is not the thing, And I think so many of us, we tell ourselves stories. Or, there's this story I'm telling myself in my head, and then that gets me feeling a certain way, and now all of a sudden my behavior is impacted, and I think that's especially with a lot of our young people. That is where the fight kind of originates, and I think to spend time there and to invest in that space, I think will help. Off the field for sure, on the field certainly, but still work to be done.
Just like a day, if you're in a hurry, it's always a red light, or there's heavy traffic, and
you think it's all just for you.
Yeah. So you are a physical football team, and obviously that's what you've done with your running game, but defense as well. Can you try to give me an example of how intense Tuesday inside run drills are and what that has done for your football team?
No, it's let me say that we probably, we are in full pads, but it's a quick whistle. So I have the whistle, and I think it's full speed and trying to get guys to stay up. And I think, so much of spring and fall camp, we would be on the ground. There would be, a fight that would break out. There would be, guys talking this and guys talking back, and it just seemed like we could not get out of our way, and I don't know, it was very much, it was a pretty big deal to kind of get that to where, hey, we're doing this we're competing good versus good, but I'm making you better, you are making me better. That is more the issue, because we're all going to play so-and-so university. That is more the issue than, I'm beating you or you're beating me. And I think so much of it in the beginning was that. And I think it's one thing to understand that in a classroom. It's another thing to be in an arena and to have, heated competition, pressure, and all that, to exercise that. And so it took us quite a while. So it's at the point now to where full pads, it's full speed. We'll have 20 some plays, and there'll maybe be 2 guys on the ground, 1 guy on the ground. So I think that's an example of what we just talked about. That's the inside work being reflected on the outside, and so that allows us now their understanding of pushing each other. And there's team, there's unit, and there's me. I think most folks are going to think of me, and then they're going to think of I'm on offense or I'm on defense. They're going to think of the unit, and then the last thing they're going to think of is the team. Right. And so to flip that upside down is team first. No superstars, no superstar coaches. Right? It's the complementary football, and everyone takes everybody and all that. And then me at the very bottom. I think that is kind of the core of that, of us being allowed to play physical and run the ball and stop the run, because otherwise, human nature will get in the way.
And not a lot of that anymore in football, is there? As far as practice, it seems like it's getting more and more away from that. Mm-hmm. The less time to practice, less contact because of injuries, and obviously the NFL with the salary cap and all that. But is it getting away from that, or is that just something you feel like it's not like you do that every day? But
yeah, I think it's not as common as it was. I think our understanding of how to take care of each other and how to practice, as well as a quick whistle, I think aids in our ability to kind of keep it going. I think if there is a so that's thud tempo for us. So if there is you and I head up and we're in short distance, I will thud you up if I'm on defense, meaning I'm going to chest pop you, hit on the rise. And we use the word, we used to use the word entanglement until it got hijacked. So it would be an entanglement, a chest pop and a hip pop, and there'd be a full body on you, and that would be in tight quarters. And then if it is more space, a thud would be long stride to a short stride, working off to a side. So not encouraging kind of knockout shots, because it's unnecessary. We want to get in position to make a play. We're not. It's not about wiping somebody out. And so I think those things took some time to get across, and I think that's made a difference in that we can have 9-on-7, this week in November.
Isn't that something that when you played the game, you were, a battering ram? Mm-hmm. You broke your helmet one time, blood coming down your forehead. Isn't that what you love? Did you thrive on those kind of drills?
Yeah, we practiced the opposite of how I would have played. Yeah. But I think the game has changed. And I think the I was not very. I was probably more me than unit, not really thinking of the team. I was thinking about how can I earn this spot? How can I make my mark? How can I? No one sees me. I need to play. I need to do something to be noticed, right? And so I just think those are all the drivers. The person drives the player, and I think to see those things and address those prior to those, I think the blow-ups either on the field or on the sidelines are obviously results of just coaches not noticing.
Bryson Jackson on a play when Caleb Williams actually threw an incomplete pass. Matt Jones was there. Then he got like double teamed on the ground, like a WWE thing. Right? Now, he had no chance. And yet, because the play was delayed and Williams was forced away from Matt Jones, that was as much of a motor play, not giving up, I've ever seen.
Bryson's been coming on for a couple weeks. I think, we call it above the line and below the line throughout the week, and highlight and effort. And so when we do above the line would be the standard. And we use the term Baylor ID, so we have a thumbprint, and it all goes out like, this is our identity. And Bryson has been on there a bunch, and just his effort throughout practice and his care factor, and just, I think he was on there twice last week. And so, those things, when that is connected, and as coaches and as teammates, you see that, and there's a trust in them, and there's a belief, even stronger belief in them, and then he gets opportunities because he's earned them, and then when he has the opportunities, he shows you completely who he is and plays green. It doesn't hold back.
Right.
That's such a cool deal. That's the way you'd like it all to go.
One thing on the end of the game, I saw a picture of you. It's chaos. I mean, everyone's excited. You never once took your mind off of what you wanted to accomplish. Was it almost like everything else was outside? Because you could have just said, the heck with it, forget it, run the clock. You never lost your focus. Is that Jedi in you, that Bruce Lee in you? Yeah, I mean, seriously.
No, I wish it wasn't the whole thing that it was. I think, really for us, we were trying to not let them score. And I think, I wish we wouldn't have let them score. I wish we would have executed. I think, I think there's defensively, the faltering there a little bit at the end, and then offensively, that drive where we were able to run the ball and then score a touchdown. I think, when things are going well, right, how you come out, how you execute, what's your mindset, what's your energy like. I mean, that's this week. I think that's this week completely. And I think offense gives us such a great roadmap to how that looks. And defensively, we've done that before. But I think, this past Saturday gives us some left to be desired in that area. But I think when we did not keep them out, it just became, we get the ball back, we're going to have to try to put points on the board.
You mentioned in the press conference, and I was the one that asked the question, Joey leaving, that hurt you, didn't it?
It's just, there's a lot of connection and a lot of connections with him. I think there's a lot of, 5 years is a long time. Relationships are very strong with him and with us. And, I just think it's a bit unprecedented in the middle of a week during the season. And I think, to maneuver through all of that, I think it's one thing to kind of say, hey, we're moving on, this is what we got today. It's another thing to meet people where they're at. And so that is a much more arduous and longer path, but it's the right one.
When you were working as a security guard at a truck stop, you were also contemplating joining the Navy. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. You ever been one of those meant to be things or what if guys?
No, yeah. I think when I was enlisted in the Navy, I remember going to the Navy office. It was right next to like a Pizza Hut or something. So we would get pizza like it was once a month, and just the kids that would go there. It was very much like just my group of friends was not the people that were represented in that meeting, and so it was very much like you were thrown out of your comfort zone. And just the more I would go, it was like, Dave, we're doing this. This is, and I just I felt like the call. I felt like I think I needed structure, and I needed discipline, and so like all of it I felt right. I remember there's like a testing or something that I did in San Diego. I remember it was right prior to taking off to go to, I think it was the Great Lakes or something was where the boot camp was going to be. And I remember I stayed in San Diego, so that I did not pay for this hotel, but it was basically like a closet. And I remember the room was it was like a closet, and it was very much like you're on your own, you're going, and every step I just would gain more strength with all of it. It's the first time ever really for me doing anything like that, and then to come to fail the test, and so like all of that was, when you come off of that, you're kind of lost. And I'm thankful for my high school coaches. I think without them, who knows.
So what's the 37 topic binder in Redlands High School's old trailer around the campus that has Dave Aranda's name on it? Is that your early years of learning football, studying football?
Yeah, I don't know. So I would go visit, though, my high school coaches, So Jim Walker was my head high school coach. He's retired now. And his first year was my sophomore year there. And then Miguel Olmedo was my defensive coordinator and my linebacker coach. And I think LSU too. I would always go wherever I was at Kalu or Houston or Delta State or Hawaii or Utah State or Wisconsin. Would always go and visit Redlands and visit with them and talk ball. And I remember it didn't hit me till a couple times. I kept going, wanting to learn from them, and they were not interested in that. They wanted to have me talk, And so I just remember wasn't really frustrated, but it was kind of like, man, I just want to try to get better. I want to hear what they're doing, but they just all the time was just up there, just me. But I miss those times. Those are great people.
Undisciplined players have undisciplined coaches. You said that before. Mm-hmm. That's what drives you crazy about unnecessary penalties, huh?
Yeah, I think, or just not going to class, or not being late to meetings, or missing appointments, or I think all of those things add up. I think it's the person drives the player, and I think if at an early age you start saying, I'm going to perform in this area and I'm going to be real in this area, then it's easy for you to say, I can perform to this person and then I'm going to be real with this person. And all of those, that's just a path that's not good to go on. I just think the more integration you do of who you really are into all areas, the better off you'll be.
One more thing. What's your favorite, if you had a favorite go-to meal, dinner, if somebody was to cook Dave Aranda the meal he wanted, I'm not saying your last meal, what would it be? Would it be Cajun food from your days at LSU, fish tacos from California, Tex-Mex, steak and potatoes? Is there one?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really eat. I think I
heard about the fact you engulf an extra large pizza because that's just one more thing off your plate, right?
Yeah. So I'll eat when I feel like I'm gonna faint, and I feel like I need some food.
That's not good.
And so I'll eat then. But like Saturday after the game, I'll have a steak, And so it'd probably be that. I think but I've never thought really of food as my wife is very different. She can taste the differences and all these things, and likes to have taste or try different things, where it's just food is something for me to check the box and let's get on to whatever we have.
This team's grown up in front of you, aren't they? You made the comment about the orphan or being a family. Mm-hmm. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I think when I'm obviously I have not been an orphan, but when I think of an orphan, I think of someone that wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to be valued, someone that is in a group but is really see me, love me, right? Where's my home? And the people that are around you, can I trust this person? Is this really, there may be some manipulation just naturally involved because I'm trying to get what's best for me. And I just think to go from an orphan to a family is where there's connection, where you can be you and not have to be anybody else. And you can have trust. And, I think you're comfortable in your own skin. I think that is quite a journey, and it takes work of wherever people are at, going down to find them. And I think, I think that there's a lot of work with that, and coaches, players, both ends of it. And I think that's still ongoing. I think the importance of discipline, I think, is a thing that I think is hard, especially for younger kids. The importance of who you are as a person, I think, is hard, especially for younger kids. They're not 40-year-olds with families, and they've gone through midlife and this whole thing, and they haven't. So they have not, And I just remember when I was a kid, and it's way different than that now. And so I think there's things that I'm improving on the messaging, but then I think they're seeing. I think we can see each other's hearts, and so they know it's coming from a spot that's real, at least.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Baylor football coach Dave Aranda, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
All right, when we come back, CBS Sports' Dennis Dodd was here all weekend to watch Baylor men's basketball lower the national championship banner and then watched and covered Baylor in Oklahoma. He's next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Select New York Strip, Choice, and Prime New York Strip from $7.99 a pound to Prime New York Strip at $19.99 a pound. Stew meat. As we get chillier temperature or colder temperatures, but it's kind of warm today, $4.99 a pound. Thin sliced chicken breast. I've used these before for stir fry, for fajitas or more, $2.25 a pound. Boneless pork chops, $1.99 a pound. And regular piggy sticks for $2.99 a pound. Ring bologna, $4.50 a pound. But also, guess what's happening in, a couple of weeks? Thanksgiving, right? So they have turkeys and hams available for you as well at Waco Custom Marketplace throughout this week, all the way through Saturday. And then, of course, when they close it up, they'll start something new next week for you to order, pre-order hams or turkeys, or go by and get what you want for Thanksgiving Day. Brian Bauer and the Bauer family have done an incredible job of turning Waco Custom Meats, a distribution center, into Waco Custom Marketplace, a different building, different business under the same umbrella, and making sure you get what you need with a butcher shop and bakery and all of the incidentals you need is a hometown grocery store feel on 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Baylor football. Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman, with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains bathrooms outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity if people have to pay things off as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12 months. No interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, was in town to watch Baylor open up defense of their national championship. Had a chance to visit with him right below the national championship banner that was unveiled. And he was also there for the Baylor-Oklahoma game on Saturday. Dennis Dodd joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Dennis, not a bad weekend for Baylor athletics, huh?
No, pretty darn good. Banner and rings on Friday, and then signature win for Dave Aranda on Saturday. Yeah, it was pretty good.
What are your thoughts about Dave Aranda and what he's accomplished? Last year, of course, was unique for so many people, but where he has them right now on the cusp of a possible Big 12 championship game?
I would be very nervous if I were a Baylor fan. The way things are moving so quickly, and I mean, you've already seen it this year where there's been, 11 coaching changes, and I think 4 of those, the person left or was fired before their third year ended. You know, it's most of that's been on ADs, but things are changing so fast where Dan Mullen can go from, being within a field goal of winning an SEC title to being on the hot seat less than a year later. That I think Dave Aranda is going to be a hot property here pretty soon for a lot of schools.
Dennis, how do you think the national perception changed on Oklahoma, if at all? Because it already seemed like the committee was kind of out on Oklahoma by having an undefeated team rated 8th.
Well, as I said before that game, it didn't really matter that they were 8th. If they had taken care of business and won those last 3 games and then won a rematch against one of the 3, because that's what it would have been, there's no question they'd be in the playoffs. They were one of the few that controlled their own destiny. A Power 5 undefeated champion has never been left out. So their chances are diminished. They're not dead. I would be talking more about Oklahoma State now than I would Oklahoma, frankly, from the Big 12 for the playoffs. But, it was, again, it was the way it happened. Baylor choked off Oklahoma. I think I used that word in my column. The lowest yardage total of the Lincoln Riley era, fewest points since 2014. Marvin Mims wasn't a factor. I mean, if you were at the game, you'd have to check the stat sheet to see if he got on the field. He had 2 catches for 17 yards, and we're talking about one of the best receivers in the Big 12. And in 2 career games against Baylor, he has 3 catches for 16 yards. So after halftime, which is when Oklahoma, to me, wore down, Baylor dominated.
Dennis, was there anything that Baylor did that surprised you? I mean, I know you've watched them at times this year, but you mentioned the way that they did it. What stood out to you from that performance that maybe was something you were unsure of or didn't know about them heading in?
Well, they really made it a point to confuse the young quarterback. No one had done that yet. To put a lot of decision-making on him. On the second interception, do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Where he kind of handed off the air? Remember that ghost handoff?
Yeah.
And then he went back and threw off his back foot to a wide-open defender and wasn't anywhere near the receiver. That kind of set it for me. And to the point that, I think I proved my point. He got taken out of the game. Spencer Rattler wasn't much better. I think that was the key to the whole thing. And they stopped the running game. You're going to have some balance against a team like Baylor, and they never could get it going.
Yeah, I kept waiting. Kennedy Brooks, who can be a guy that wears you down like he did against Texas and others, he just had no chance from carry one. What are your thoughts? And I saw this in one of your in the column. Him discussing the identity of an orphan and wanting to have the identity of being a family, burning your waffles, or middle seat on an airplane. Some of the things that Aranda brings up, to me, are just absolutely, if you're not paying attention, you miss out.
Yeah, he's so introspective, and he's so interesting that you really have to think when you're talking to him sometimes. We got him at the team hotel Friday night on camera, and you know what those things are. 3 quick questions, talk about the game, in and out, cliches, blah, blah, blah. Well, he starts going into the game plan, and I would urge everybody to go on the site and try to find it because it is archived there. He starts talking about bang and buzz players, which I have no idea what that means, but he starts describing it. He says Caleb Williams looks to the sidelines. He does a lot of lookovers, and that's because Lincoln wants him to because he's so young, because Spencer Rattler, never did that. That's damn interesting stuff to me for a random interview on a Friday night at the team hotel. And so that's, maybe he'll change. Maybe he'll get more conservative as time goes on in his career. But now, to me, I think he's fascinating. He's unbelievable.
I got to admit, and I've said this before, when I first met him the first day he was introduced, and I remember it was mainly about the moment, but there are times early on where I had to kind of make sure, well, one, I always want to make sure I'm prepared, but now I look forward to sitting down with him. Not that I didn't before, but I really can't wait to pick and choose some of the things that he brought up in his press conferences. Yeah, there are those people in life and in coaching that really like to engage, and they really feel like they have something to say. Dave Aranda is one of those guys, and we never knew it because I think this was the case. The assistants weren't allowed to talk at LSU. I don't remember his time at Wisconsin, although he was a great coordinator there as well. And that's a darn shame. The last time I had talked to him in person was on the floor of the Superdome after they won the championship in 19, and he was standing by himself in the middle of this, unbelievable celebration. I went over and started asking him questions, and it was more of the same than what we're talking about. He's happy for the players. I have to go back and look at the quotes, but he was really good in the moment where everything's flying, bullets are flying, celebration, people, cigars, money at that point from OBJ on the field. And it was fun. He's a damn interesting guy.
So I know that Aranda is going to continue to get a lot of USC mention or LSU mention, just kind of depending on how this goes. But Dennis, how much are you hearing about Jeff Grimes and how he's being viewed around coaching circles?
Yeah, I had him at one of the candidates at Washington, and I'm trying to remember if there was any connection there. I don't think there was, because most of the guys on that list had connections in the West. But yeah, Jeff Grimes obviously was at BYU and had that great season with Zach Wilson last year. where they'd set a lot of offensive records at BYU. So that's in the West. And I think he'll, and doing what he has done at Baylor, frankly, I think will help a lot. So, yeah, I had him at Washington, not necessarily getting the job, but one of the hot candidates.
Dennis, what do you think about the way coaching, hiring and firing is going on right now? We said, look, Joe McGuire is going to be involved in coaching against a team he was on the staff of a week ago in 2 weeks when they play Baylor here in Waco. But not only that, just so many coach firings early to maybe get out ahead of this recruiting cycle that is now earlier because of the early signing day and the way that it's really complicated things.
It's all about the portal, and it's all about the early signing day. Everybody wants to get ahead on the portal, and everybody wants to get ahead and recruit before signing day. The irony on that is you want to get ahead of that, but you also want a guy who can handle the portal and sign a bunch of guys on signing day. So it's almost one runs into the other. So that's what it's become. And as I'm writing for tomorrow, there's been so much coaching change in the last 5 years. I went that far back that the big names are either retired analysts on TV in the NFL, or they have jobs they're happy with. I think it's going to be hard for maybe USC and LSU to hire a big name, and some others that are out there too. Not Texas, but if Florida chooses to make a move, I think it's going to be hard for them. So you got to be careful what you wish for sometimes.
You've covered Baylor. It's how I've met you. You've covered them for many, many years in different ways, different times, different stories, different eras. Your thoughts about this football program, and then watching the men's basketball team with that banner and watching their run that they made last April or March and April. Your thoughts about this Baylor athletics program and where they are in the pecking order and how they have stayed not just relevant but winning championships.
Yeah, I talked to, I forget the gentleman's name. I just met him. There was a Nike rep at the basketball game and the football game who has Baylor, and he's had them for like the last 5 years. And he told me this is the new Clemson, in that football rises up and carries everything else. Now, Clemson basketball obviously isn't a national factor, but there is that carryover at Clemson where everything now is better at Clemson. Enrollment, everything else. Baylor was always good at basketball, so I don't even know if that's a good comparison. But that's how he put it. That they've got everything in place. They've got the AD and the coaches now. They have a national championship in basketball. That's not going away. Art took them to places they'd never been before, but Matt Rule and now Dave Aranda look like they're going to do the same thing, despite the scandal. It almost sustains itself. Matt Rule had Baylor within an overtime with a third-string quarterback of winning the Big 12 and going to the playoffs. Dave Aranda, with 2 weeks left to go in this season, in his second season after a 2-7 debut, has Baylor within shouting distance of the Big 12 championship game. So I think that speaks highly for everything that's in place there, the decisions they've made to hire these people. So it's not going away anytime soon.
Dennis, I know the ending of that game was a bit wild and sloppy, but I noticed that you mentioned a while back earlier today about the Big 12 tiebreaker and what Aranda said about that late field goal. I know it had people scratching their heads at the time, but I guess you got to give the guy credit for thinking about something that most people wouldn't have had in mind in that situation.
Yeah, the depth of thought is what amazed me, and he knew he was going to get questions about it, to the point that in the post game, he said something like, "Well, I'm sure Oklahoma's not very happy with it," and he left it at that. He knew there'd be blowback about running up the score, but I thought in the moment he cared most about sending a message to his players that I'm doing this for us. And this is how much faith I have in you guys, that I think we have a shot at the Big 12 title, that I'm willing to take that on, in comparison to any long-term ramifications there may be from Oklahoma the next time we play them, rightly or wrong. So I thought that was interesting. I do have some news to break here. Because of the games, I just talked to the Big 12 office, because of the games that were played after Baylor, Oklahoma on Saturday in the Big 12, we cannot get down to the point differential. In other words, a three-way tie would be broken in any scenario before we get to that. Mm-hmm. So, nice try by Baylor and Dave Aranda. Good research, but it will not be broken by point differential.
Well, yeah, when Oklahoma State scores 63, I think that kind of throws that out the window.
Dennis, how good is
it would be the point differential? Yeah, would be between the tied teams. So yeah, they had a plus 46. You're right.
Dennis, how good do you think Oklahoma State is at this point, and do you think they're getting enough credit nationally or enough attention nationally for just how good they are?
Well, they're good in a different way. We have never, and I mean never, seen Oklahoma State with a defense like this. And defense travels. That's why I was on our streaming channel today, HQ, and they asked me about the Big 12, and I said, well, Oklahoma's damaged, but you know who's got a better chance is Oklahoma State, because they're going to be ahead of them in the rankings tomorrow night. And if they beat Oklahoma twice, then they've got a heck of a shot, depending on what happens above them. Oklahoma State's 10th right now. But with a defense that has yet given up more than 24 points, has 15 sacks in the last two games, and is doing more than enough on offense, it's time to talk about Oklahoma State being the best team in the league right now. It's certainly not Oklahoma after the way they've kind of muddled around at times this year, now finally lost the game. I think it's interesting as hell. I mean, it goes against everything Mike Gundy is. I mean, it almost like, birthed itself, reborn itself. Because Mike Gundy wasn't trumpeting in August that he's going to have a top 10 defense.
I know you wrote a column on Steve Sarkisian earlier and what's going on at Texas. Your thoughts on what his reasonable path forward is to cool down his seat in the offseason, because Texas can't fire two coaches in 2 years and expect that to make everything better.
No, but if there was a school that was going to do it, it would be Texas.
Yep.
But you're right. I think he made now the narrative seems to be shifting it on the players. You had the Bo Davis leaked video. I think Steve Sarkisian today in his Monday press conference said there's going to be as many as 33 openings on the team. That's going to be news to the players who have those scholarships, but he's clearly going to go all in on the transfer portal and try to remake this team, which is what modern college football is. But for him to say that out loud, it's shifting the blame from anything the coaching staff would have done. Hey, we inherited bad players. Such bad players that those same players went 7-3 for Tom Herman last year, and he got fired. So I'm tending not to buy that angle, but that's where they're putting it right now.
Dennis, after your comment about Oklahoma State, Donnie Hand on our chat room on YouTube, Dennis Dodd is my new favorite for the week. Going to go follow him on Twitter. So you got one more to your 100,000 or so. So let me ask you again. Let me clarify what you're saying, because after the game, Oklahoma-Baylor, after the results, you're saying that there's no mathematical way for a three-way tie to come into play?
It would be right. The tie would be broken. I'm saying a three-way tie. Any three-way tie would be broken. That is a possibility in the Big 12 before it gets to that third tiebreaker. Point differential between the teams that are involved. So, essentially what Dave Aranda did at the end of the game Saturday has now been rendered moot by the results of the games, because that was an early game, by the results of the games on Saturday.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Great to see you again. It's been a while. Thank you. All right. Dennis Dodd, CBSSports.com. That's interesting. The results, based on the results after the Baylor game and win against Oklahoma, that it would all be taken care of before you got to the third part of the Big 12 championship game tiebreaker.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad he did it. He didn't know at the time, as you said, when the results came out after their game was over, that led to that, like Oklahoma State winning in super blowout fashion. But I think Dennis, and this was something I was thinking about on Saturday, but I think he just nailed it on one exact point. Dave Aranda sent a message to his players with that decision, and I think he sent a message to Oklahoma. I think he sent a message to a lot of people, whether he intentionally did it or not. I think, yes, that was about Big 12 tiebreaker rules, but I think it was just as much about, like, we're going to line up and there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? Like, I think there was a message sent to his players, most definitely, but I think there was just kind of an overall message as well of, Oklahoma's kind of been the bully in the league for a while. And I think Aranda was just like, no, we're going to kick this field goal. We're going to get point differential because we're in the Big 12 title race. And too bad. I mean, I liked the decision, and the time it was confusing as all hell because it was like, why would you do that? But then he explained it, and you're like, okay, well, that makes absolute perfect sense, and I don't know why anybody would complain about it. If you're going to complain about anything, it's just the way it was all handled and unfolded. And
he mentioned that today. Aranda mentioned how he wishes he would have been maybe a little bit more maybe even told the officials what might happen and his team, because Gary Bohannon's walking off with his big smile, thinks it's winded down as well. But it's just one of those things.
Yeah, and you know what, I'll tell you, here's one of the things that's really smart about, because hindsight is always 20/20. Say they did get down to a three-way tie, which has happened, as we know, in the Big 12 before.
Oh, wait
and to pretend like it wouldn't happen, like, that's not going to happen again. That's kind of like, when they told Rick Perry to winterize the grid, and he's like, it'll never happen again, and then 10 years later it does. So you don't want that to happen. You don't want to be that one. So, it wound up not mattering. Oklahoma State, shredded the point differential by having a 46-point win right after they were done. But you know what? What if it come down to 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, and it's like, Baylor's out because they needed 3 more points?
Yeah. No.
Do you think Charlie Strong and Tom Herman shared a beer after that Texas game on Saturday?
Dennis Dodd wrote about that in his column. About they probably had a chuckle, not because they're happy that Sark is losing, but because they know what goes on there. And JD Piquel was texting with me. He's doing a Chalk Talk tonight, the big one too, about the problems at Texas. I said, can you do a slide to just take a picture of the fan and go, this guy's mouth and all of his friends is the problem? That's the biggest thing at Texas is they have to. My top 5 today is why do you fix Texas? Well, one of the biggest thing you got to do is you just got to get out of the way.
Yeah, you got to let the foot. Yeah, here's a quote though. Again, this is the quote from Dave Aranda that to me was amazing. Short and simple.
My Twitter blew up when I tweeted this one quote out.
Because here's an opportunity. You have emotions. You have a huge win. And when he was asked about the field goal, and he was asked about how Oklahoma might feel about it. Dennis, in fact, said, I really don't know how they feel about it, but he goes, I think they're not happy with it. And that was it. It was almost silent assassin without even wanting to be that way. I think they're not happy with it.
Yeah, he just said it very matter-of-factly and stopped, and then I think everybody was kind of waiting for him to say more, and then he didn't say. He's like, no, that's all he said, and I got a huge reaction by just tweeting that one line out, and somebody said, and I was like,
that's it.
That was it. That's all he said was I think they're really not happy with it, and that's what made it funny. But I do want to mention before I forget, I think Tom Herman's an interesting name. The coaching cycle has been kind of depleted as far as names go, with guys either electing to stay, and you've got the Arandas or the Jeff Grimeses that are going to be mentioned. But, I mean, because of all these very rash firings, they're really kind of cutting the head off of the whole evolution of the coaches that are available. And I think, the more you do that and you dip down to find the guy, the more you're going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel a lot of times. And you got to let guys just kind of have time and blossom. And I think Tom Herman's a guy that – there's a bunch of openings, and I know he's in the NFL right now, but that's somebody who, if I had to go and hire someone, I don't know that he would be the guy I would hire, but I think it's somebody you at least have to look at.
Well, if you're Washington, and look, Tom Herman is a very intellectual dude. Washington's a great school. They brag about their academics. Jimmy Lake was one of the guys who bragged about it a few weeks ago before he got canned about their academics. I think Tom Herman's personality can work it at Washington. I think part of because you probably do not have to, and for lack of a better term, kiss as much ass as you do at Texas. Yeah. There's probably nowhere outside of maybe Notre Dame, and then you have to do that more than Texas. And Tom Herman's not going to. He's not going to be that guy.
Well, he wouldn't have lost to Kansas on Saturday if he was coaching that team, and they wouldn't be what they are right now. And I hope for his sake, because I think the biggest knock on him is, for one, he was very overrated coming over from Houston. Based on, if you'll remember the tweets at the time about what Herman was going to do at Texas, and I know every new head coach has that kind of buzz for the most part, but, they really were sold that he was the guy. A lot of the fan base was, it seemed. But I hope for his sake that he has matured a little bit in the year away and his time in the NFL, because I do think that between the bowl game against Missouri, when he was doing the tauntings on the sideline and just some of his antics, I think that really rubbed people the wrong way and sort of added, salt to the wound when the winning wasn't happening the way that they wanted it to. But that was a name I thought of over the weekend. And when I was thinking about UT losing and what Strong and Herman must feel, I was like, Tom Herman, there's a guy who could probably be in line for one of these open, not necessarily a U.S., not that, but like just getting back into college football in general. I think that would be interesting.
Unless he has somehow fallen for what he can do now and maybe enjoys what he has at least experienced in the National Football
Like Rule and Kingsbury and a lot of other guys.
So I want to make sure I go back over what Dennis Dodd just mentioned, and then we got a break. Based on the results following Baylor and Oklahoma, it's mathematically impossible now for there to be a three-way tie to get to the point differential tiebreaker. But it was in play at the moment. But can Kansas State get back in this thing?
No. 3 losses are on the conference, right?
Oh, okay.
They lost 3 conference games right out of the gate.
That's right. They had that
played
meat of the
OU,
schedule
Iowa
early.
State, and I think they played Oklahoma State too.
Because either Oklahoma State and Oklahoma can't lose to each other. So you would think that and like Baylor would have to lose. That would give them 3 conference losses. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma would all have to lose twice. And they can't do that because they play each other. So there's a 3-loss team can't get in this.
Yeah.
So
here's one of the chats.
Well, I guess if Baylor lost to Kansas State this weekend, I mean K-State would jump them because they would both have 3, and K-State would have head-to-head. And I'd have to actually see the layout, but a very small.
No, Kansas State can't win it because there's no way that Oklahoma State and Oklahoma can have 3 losses.
Right, I'm just saying they could jump Baylor. I'm not saying they'd get into the title game, but they could in theory jump Baylor with a win this weekend. But the title game, no.
From T. Daver, there is a scenario that requires the point differential tiebreaker. Oklahoma State wins out. Oklahoma loses out. Kansas State wins out. Baylor goes 1-1, losing to K-State. Iowa State goes 1-1 and beats Oklahoma. I'm going to have a drink.
Yeah, I don't want to even think about that.
Thank you, though.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you. And if it comes down to it and we have to get to that, please be at the ready to help explain all that. But it could go chaotic. But hopefully, if you're a Baylor fan, that they just take care of their business in Manhattan, which will be easier said than done, and then take care of the game after that. Because the clearest path for the Big 12 title game is Oklahoma State and Baylor win out, and they go play each other in the title game. That's the clearest path.
Yep. Also, one stat from that game between Texas and Kansas, we had Jesse Newell on from the Kansas City Star. Since 1978, the FBS and the FCS split of at least 24 points entering the game. The underdog, a 24-point underdog or worse entering the game, was 0 for 100. Is that right? That's what it says right here. This is from the Kansas football Twitter feed. All right, when we come back, David Hellman, Cowboys bounce back, and they did it emphatically. They crushed the Falcons immediately. I mean, that thing was over in a hurry, almost badly as the Broncos and Cowboys, it seemed. This is Sick of 365 Radio and 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com, Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff in the Central Texas marketplace can help find out what hurts you enough to where it shuts you down. You can't function, you can't think, you can't sleep, you can't maybe walk or do anything because something, a ligament, a muscle, or something inside your body hurts enough to where you are thinking about doing more than Advil, thinking about painkillers, thinking about begging your doctor to shoot something in your body because it just is that painful. It could be, unfortunately, a torn rotator cuff, a torn lumbar, could be torn ligaments in your knee, could be something that hurts and there's something wrong. And your doctor goes, okay, we need to get a look. X-rays, they've done it all, and they need an MRI. If your doctor suggests to you an MRI, you suggest to them, call Ideal MRI. Ask them to call Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace off of I-35 on the Highway 6 access road. $497 or less every time you get an MRI there. They'll also help you offset that with the insurance papers. If they can help you with that, they will. The average MRI is $1,100. This is $497 or less every single time. I've had 3 MRIs there. One was nothing, insurance. The other one was $497, and the third one was for them just to let me get inside their machine so I could tell you about it because it's state-of-the-art technology. The staff is amazing. Rob Maxey, Al LeBlanc, and, of course, Texan specialists. IdealMRI.com.
You know what would make this moment better?
pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
It's a crazy game, this football or anything in sports. Last week, the Cowboys were a disaster. This week, the Falcons wonder if they should finish the season. Dominant, emphatic. They looked amazing across the board. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. David, they obviously bounced back with a vengeance. What about yesterday, other than everything, perhaps, was the most impressive to you?
I think the most impressive thing was just how effortless it was, or just how they were kind of able to follow the script. I mean, it's one thing to say that you played poorly and you want to bounce back and beat the other team really badly to make a point. everybody feels that way. But this is the NFL. I mean, everybody gets paid a lot of money to be good at football, and that's why, you know, a dominant win in the NFL is usually like 10 to 14 points. So to circle the wagons and bounce back and just do it emphatically, I mean, my God, a 40-point wins don't happen in pro football. At least they're not supposed to. I mean, we've spent all week talking about how the Cowboys got run off the field by Denver, and they did. And the final margin in that game was still only 14 points because, again, these guys all get paid really well to do their job, and you just don't see lopsided scores at this level. So for them to make that an emphasis that they wanted to bounce back in a big way and do it that dominantly was just really, really impressive. I mean, I thought I was watching Ohio State playing Toledo, you know?
Yeah, if Sesame Street was doing opposites, that would have been the perfect example of this one is opposite of the last one. Because
exactly.
It was just not even close. David, the special teams, I think, last year a little bit, they took a lot of chances, and that was a team that was, you know, riddled with injuries and different. And I think people were kind of riding Bones Foss a little bit. But now, I mean, he's kind of the talk of the town because of the way these special teams play and blocking punts 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think about it a lot in terms of the fourth down aggressiveness, too. It's the exact type of thing that everybody loves when it works, and everybody hates and wants to pick it apart when it doesn't work. And you say, well, I like the idea of going for the block punt, but not right there. Or, yeah, I love being aggressive on fourth down, but that wasn't the time. And it's our jobs, and fans do it, too, to do that, to second-guess the decision-making. And I respect the Cowboys for knowing exactly who they are and not really switching it up. They've gotten killed for it at times this year. They don't seem to care. They bounce right back and do it again, and you're seeing why right now. I mean, when it's executed the right way and when you trust your team to do it, you can swing games. Obviously, with the fourth down calls, but with the special teams as well. And you know, coaches and players love to act like they don't hear the noise. I think that's mostly BS. I think they hear it loud and clear a lot of the time. And I credit the Cowboys for either blocking it out or not caring about it and being like, no, this is who we are. We're going to be an aggressive team, and it's going to pay off in the long run.
You know, they've blocked, what, 2 punts? Is that right? They have the ability with Pollard.
They blocked 2 and they've gotten to 3. Technically, the one against Denver doesn't count. But yeah, I mean they've gotten to 3 punts this season.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But you know, they are aggressive. Sometimes it's hurt them, but most of the time, I think yesterday they had to send a message. Hey, we're not. Bottom line, did just an extra week of practice help Dak get back into a rhythm as well? Because he obviously was very sharp.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe he's just a routine-oriented guy. He needs that extra time, but clearly 2 weeks away from taking the reps and playing a lot of football, I think it hurt him, clearly. I mean, I said this all last week. I think Dak reached a new level in his career when the Cowboys traded for Amari Cooper in 2018. That's really when you saw him become a focal point of this offense, a guy who can consistently win from the pocket and really, you know, take your passing game to a new level. And I think from the time they made that trade, last week against Denver is the worst game he's ever played. It's the worst he's played as an accomplished veteran passer. And for him to bounce back and show that he's still that guy, yeah, I think it speaks to, first of all, how good he is. But, yeah, I mean, even the very best can't take 2 weeks away and expect to play at as high a level as they would prefer. I mean, Aaron Rodgers certainly looked like he was a little shaky in his first game back from COVID yesterday, and that's a guy that's won several MVP awards. So, yeah, the Cowboys made it look really easy yesterday, but I promise you it is not.
David, this week is the Chiefs, and the next week's the Raiders. Both those teams played last night. A couple weeks ago, the Chiefs game looked a little bit different than it does now. Maybe Kansas City has started to find themselves a little bit. What do you think about the matchup this week?
I have to respectfully disagree with you. I've been joking about that all year. I don't care. I don't care if the Chiefs are 0-10. If number 15 is back there slinging the rock around, then this game hasn't changed this entire time. I mean, that is a super talented team. yeah, they clearly they haven't had the season that everybody was expecting them to have, but they are incredibly dangerous as long as Patrick Mahomes is back there and he's got those guys to throw the ball to. And I said a month or so ago, I was like, I don't care if they're 4 games below 500. They're not dead until they're mathematically eliminated. And lo and behold, here they are looking like they're rounding into form at just the right time. I mean, these seasons are long and sometimes you face a lot of adversity. So I'm excited. I mean, I love that the Chiefs are kind of on the upswing. I mean, I think this has the potential to be the matchup of the year. If you remember a couple years ago, the Chiefs and the Rams played an incredible game in 2018. I think, there were like 95 combined points. I don't know if we're headed for that, but I certainly hope it lives up to the billing. I think it's one of the hottest teams in the league this year against arguably the best team in the league over the last 4 years, 2 of the hottest young quarterbacks in the game. I mean, this is everything any football fan should want. I just hope it even comes close to living up to that kind of hype.
I don't know if anyone could describe it. At times, this schedule does benefit Dallas. They've had home games before Thanksgiving. Then they've had a long break after Thanksgiving. They play at Kansas City, as Paul mentioned, an afternoon game late. And then they have Thanksgiving, the Raiders, and they turn around and go at New Orleans. That's a little bit different. That's a little bit of a test. Not only the timeline, even if you get to play at home on Thursday, that can be a stretch, can it?
Yeah, I mean, the league decided they were going to make everybody play Thursday night football. And so, I mean, if you do the math, the window is not really unusual. Every team, for the most part, has a stretch of 3 games in 12 or 13 days. That's just the reality of the league making you play on Thursday. It is unique. This is the only way for the NFL Network to get the Cowboys on TV. That's why they do this, because the Cowboys they're never moving off Thanksgiving, and that's always going to be a network game. But the NFL Network wants the Cowboys as well, and so playing a second consecutive Thursday game is pretty much the only way to do it. I'll give the league credit on this part at least. They've done a better job of making whoever their upcoming Thursday opponent is also play on Thanksgiving. So the Saints played on Thanksgiving this year. Wow, I'm struggling to forget who their opponent was last year, but it's at least nice that they're putting these teams on similar timelines so that they're getting the same amount of rest.
David, thank you very much. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, Cowboys in Kansas City, and Patrick Mahomes, who has been at times kind of sluggish with what they've done. He throws for 400 yards, hammers down on the Raiders. They score 40-plus points, maybe just in time for a shootout this Sunday.
Yeah, did he say he didn't remember who the Cowboys played last Thanksgiving? Is that what he said there at the end? They got blown out by Washington, remember? Yeah, they got blown out by Washington. 41-16 was the last Thanksgiving.
That was one of the worst Cowboy games I remember watching, which is how it just, the balloon popped. And it wasn't like a slow pop. It was like
the RG3
exploded.
Thanksgiving game was pretty close.
That one was pretty bad. Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing with the RG3 game was, at least with the RG3 game, like Washington played well. I don't think you can make the argument that Washington necessarily played great in that game. They blew it out. Like the Cowboys just kept going, hey, would you guys like the ball at our 6-yard line? Yeah, we don't want to have to keep the defense on the field that long. Just go ahead and score. So it wasn't like RG3 game.
Was that the Gibson game this past year? Yeah.
I think part of the RG3 game was just watching Robert, masterfully carved them up. He played so well.
There's a lot of buzz too because he had a crowd there for him to watch. He had a lot of Baylor fans and just Coppers Cove fans and people like that showed up at AT&T. That was a fun atmosphere. That was like a festive atmosphere that day. I remember being at that game. But yeah, Antonio Gibson had 3 touchdowns last year in that blowout. But Dallas looks really good. That was a hell of a response to last week, and that's what you want to see good teams do, like Baylor did after losing to TCU. Turn back right around and go beat the crap out of somebody. So, I mean, Dallas, they're looking great, and I can't wait to see where this journey takes them.
Good teams are ones like you saw that if they lose, worry about the next team they play because
what did Dave Aranda say?
Yeah. You don't want to be like. And part of me thought that because of the Cowboys this week, and I tweeted this out, was, they played so bad against Denver. and here Atlanta is on a win streak. I would kind of hate to be Atlanta right now because I feel the Cowboys are going to take out all their Denver frustrations on them. And then I thought, nah, this is the Cowboys. The last 25 years, they haven't done that once. And then not only they won 43-3.
They won every phase of the game. If you're pretty good and then you win every phase of the game, you're going to win. Although there's been a lot of blowouts, 40-point blowouts or whatever. New England had a big blowout. They're kind of getting to the point, 6-4. Aaron Wilson keeps asking us. We mentioned this about Texas Tech and their win against Iowa State on the 62-yard field goal. I'm like, wait a minute. Sometimes that wind can blow. But, man, did he just drill that. That wasn't even close. And you could look in the face of Matt Campbell. They showed a shot of him. You talk about a team that's kind of under the radar of a disappointing year. It's Iowa State, too. I mean, they've not met the expectations and the hype of their team this year either.
Not after Saturday. It's not kind of under the radar. It's very much on the forefront of the radars that this season has been a disappointment. I mean, when you're losing to Texas Tech in a year where you thought that you were going to be playing for a guaranteed Big 12 championship game, you lose to Baylor along the way. I mean, look, Iowa State still has a chance to make some noise. And if you're a Baylor fan, you got to root for them now moving forward. You want them to beat Oklahoma coming up next because that puts you in a sweet spot where you would be in front of the Sooners as long as you handle your business. But, yeah, I mean, that was a terrible loss for Iowa State. No doubt about it. A lot of credit to the job Sonny Cumbie's doing there in Lubbock right now as the interim head coach. You know, Tech almost blew that. They almost blew it like they have multiple times this year where they've gotten up and then, you know, had teams come back on them like K-State and that loss. It's happened a few times, nearly with SFA. But what an incredible way to end a football game, a 62-yarder. That was awesome.
All right, but Chrissy Floyd's about to join us. She covers Mississippi State for SIBulldogs.com. One note, tomorrow, another head coach, college football coach, will join us. Blake Anderson, the head coach at Utah State. They've won 5 straight. He'll join us tomorrow at 3:30 here, Central Time on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And Chrissy Floyd next on Mississippi State, gunning down Auburn. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. They're a hidden gem. And if you want fantastic customer service, and you go and you got questions, I'm looking for this gin or this vodka or this beer, and they don't have it, they know when they're getting it, or they know where you may not be able to get it in the state of Texas if they don't have it. That's how good their selection is, or it just may not be that popular. I'm just telling you right now. If it's popular, they've got it at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. They've got high-end bourbons like Buffalo Trace, Pinhook, Weller, Bardstown, so many great high-end bourbons. Always a fantastic selection at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, and that drive-through window is super, super fast. If you drove up and saw 3 cars, sometimes people are like, I'm not going to deal with it. Believe me, you're not going to be there very long. You won't even have time to get on your phone and ask somebody, I'm at the liquor store, did we forget anything? It goes that fast at the drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice, or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com, or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Play clock down to 2. Rodgers takes the snap into the end zone. Touchdown to Malik Heath.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, here we go. Chrissy Freud covers Mississippi State for SI.com, SIBulldogs.com. And she joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So it's 28-3. Game is over. And the next thing you know, Mike Leach and company, and what was it, Will Rogers just go off and beat Auburn. How unbelievable was that for Mississippi State and just kind of watching that take place?
Well, I've known Mike Leach for about 2 years, and I've studied this offense for almost as long. And to be honest with you, I might be the only person on the planet saying this, but I had absolutely no doubt in my mind. I mean, I've watched Mike make all these historic comebacks with these teams that he's led from Washington State, Texas Tech, all over the place where he's been. And so they've done it once this year, broke the school record for comeback, did it again this time around. I mean, there's something about the way they adjust at halftime. I don't know what he says to him. I don't know what he does, but they always find a way to come back. I don't think I've ever covered a team, whether it be high school, college, NFL, whatever it may be, in the 7 years I've been doing this, that has the ability to rally and fight through stuff like this one does.
How much have the wins this year, especially this one, maybe cemented Mike Leach's style in Starkville, which I'm sure takes a while to kind of get used to, but now it really feels like he's got his roots in the ground?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of fans here were skeptical, and even more so because what they've seen a lot over recent history has been an RPO-based system powered by a running quarterback. They've seen a lot of that stuff, and so Mississippi State's been known for running the ball, and really the quarterback keeper on just about every play over recent history. And so I'm sure it was something to get used to, but I mean, the thing about this offense is has concepts that are littered everywhere throughout high school, college, and the NFL. It's everywhere. And then there's a lot of teams that run it in its purest form as well. And pretty much anywhere you put it, it completely turns around programs and puts them on the map. So it's not surprising that it works. It's just a matter of repetition and execution. And this is one of the youngest teams. Last year was still one of the youngest teams as well. And so it's just a matter of repping it out. And it's been really enjoyable for me, like I said, as someone who studied this offense and kind of supported it for so long, to kind of watch all these doubters become silenced now.
Chrissy, seen a lot of Leach clips over the years covering the Big 12 when he was at Texas Tech and what he's done since then as well. But what's it like to cover Mike Leach on a daily basis? And are you as anti-candy corn as he is?
I'm more of a mellow cream pumpkin person, so it's kind of middle of the line. I don't know if he likes those. I don't know. He's a really funny, interesting person. A lot of times we just talk ball. But I did. I would say my best Mike Leach story is that we saw these stray cats running around the facility, and we asked him if we could put out cat food to catch them because I'm an animal person. I hate seeing stray kittens out there in the cold. And so we did, and we brought it home. The cat was healthy. Cat was fine. And then he said he wanted to take it home. And so a lot of my conversations with Mike have been centered around caring for a kitten lately. But it's been fun. He's somebody you can talk about pretty much anything with, and really, I know that a lot of people like him for a good quote, but as far as just talking ball, I mean, he's one of the best minds in really all of sports to me.
What'd you name the kitten?
I named the cat Mort. I don't think he's changed his name because I don't know if you've seen that thing from Madagascar, the little one that's obsessed with the other lemur that has the huge eyes. Yeah. So the cat had huge eyes, so we just named it Mort. So all the pictures of the gray kitten on my Twitter, that's the cat. That's Mike's cat.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay. Will Rogers has had a sophomore from Brandon, Mississippi, has had an amazing. Of course, he was monstrous on Saturday. What's the backstory on him? How did he get recruited, and a little bit about his progression?
Yeah, I believe that he was a Moorhead recruit, so which makes sense because Mike's only been here for 2 years now. He came in for KJ Costello last year. I thought he was a little bit up and down, as you would expect from a freshman being completely thrown into the fire for a graduate transfer. But I think he's made some strides. There was a lot of inconsistency from him toward the beginning of the season. I thought he was holding the ball way too long and squandering opportunities in a way that was really hurting this team. But I think that he's come a really long way. I think he's getting the ball out quicker for the most part. I think he's insanely accurate whenever he'll just let it go. And I think that he's coming into his own and really showing that he's a quarterback that can run this offense really well. And I mean, just to look at what he's doing as far as all these records that he's breaking becomes even more impressive when you consider the fact that he is just a sophomore. I think that's something else that people just in general need to kind of realize, is that we're not talking about a veteran here. We're talking about a sophomore, and for him to have made this much progress, keeping that in mind is very impressive to me.
What does the recruiting look like for Mississippi State coming up now that Leach is in his second year and it has a full year to recruit?
Yeah, well, I tell you that this quarterback room is starting to look really, really good. Guys like Braden Locke, I know that he recruited Sawyer Robertson, who's a guy I'm really excited about, ran the air raid over in Lubbock, the same place that Mike did, obviously, in high school instead of college. I know that they just flipped, I guess you call it flipping, there's a wide receiver, Marquez Dortch, that they just landed, that decommitted from Ole Miss, who's one of the fastest wide receivers in the state. So I think things are looking up, but this is an offense it's kind of hard to not want to play for. I mean, so the quarterback throws the ball about 60 times a game. That's really good for you if you're a good quarterback. And then the wide receivers get to touch the ball. Pretty much everybody does. And then the running back is one of the most important people on the team. I mean, you're pass blocking, you're catching, you're running it. You can do it all. And really, in today's NFL, this, to me, is as crazy as it might sound to just the layperson. The air raid offense might be the best offense for a running back to play in.
So, Chrissy, now it's 6-4, third in the West Division. Got Tennessee State coming up, so that'll be win number 7. Bulldogs are bowl eligible already. And then close out with the big rivalry game against number 15 Ole Miss. But what's just kind of the sense of the Mississippi State faithful at this point with Mike Leach, what he's done, where the program's headed? What's kind of the feel around Starkville at this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the fans all have mixed emotions because that's just kind of how they are. This is a very up and down fan base. But outside of that, I mean, I think they have a lot to be excited for. Mississippi State's a team that struggled over recent history, and you all the games you've lost, which is 4 this season, one of them was really pretty much just because of bad officiating. And really the Arkansas one, that 4th and 1 holding call to me should never have happened. So really this should be a 2-loss team anyway. But of those 4 losses, all of them except for one are by 3 points or less, which shows you that this team is 1 or 2 plays away, except in one game, from being a 1-loss team, which is huge when you consider how young they still are and that this is only the second year and that last year was a COVID year. And so, and I think that this team has defeated more ranked opponents right now than any other team in the nation. And so for this to be just year 2 of the Leach era, I think that this program is going to get shot into the stars, seriously. And part of the reason why I say that too is because I did mention that Mike Leach has turned around every program that he's been with. And think about the recruiting power you have here. Like, yeah, it's Mississippi State. There are other SEC powers that have more power than you do. But think about the players and what he was generating at Texas Tech and Washington State. And for sure, Mississippi State has more recruiting power than that.
By the way, on the ranked teams, of people winning against ranked teams, Baylor, who we cover most of the time, they have 3 top 25 wins with Iowa State at the time, Brigham Young, and Oklahoma. So I know they have Tennessee State this week, but eventually it is the game, the Egg Bowl, right? And do you feel like the way those teams play, that game might take 4.5, 5 hours?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it could. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. You have 2 high-power offenses and then 2 defenses that have been relatively up and down, at least lately. Mississippi State did have the number 14 defense in the nation. Haven't checked to see where they stand right now. So it's a defense that can perform very, very well, but also one that's kind of struggled these past 2 games. So I think that's going to be a really big factor. And then Ole Miss's defense showed up in the last game. And so really wherever these teams are on defense, I think is going to be a big deal, and I think it's going to be really close, and it's going to be hard to pick a winner.
Mellow cream pumpkin.
Yeah.
I just looked at it. I've never had that. I guess, maybe I'm out of whack at my age. I don't know, but I
definitely had some of those. I definitely had some of those.
They're in the candy corn. They're candy corn adjacent.
Yes. Well, they look like candy corn. The picture of them, they do look.
Texture's
a little bit
very
like
similar.
Yeah. All right, hey, Chrissy.
Yeah, they're about the same thing. They're pretty close. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit of a twist.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Great insight from you. We appreciate it. Glad we had you on. Have a great week.
Yeah, of course. You too.
Chrissy Freud, again, SIBulldogs.com, covers Mississippi State after their unbelievable. That's their comeback.
She didn't think it was. She banked on it.
She banked on it.
And you know what? I got to say, Mississippi State, I feel like that was some massaging by the committee last week to have them in the top 25, or was it 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
But you do look at their schedule, and you got to give them some credit. I mean, the fact that they have had a couple close losses. The only blowout was Alabama, which, is going to happen. But, they keep winning. They should win this weekend. That'd be win number 7, win the Egg Bowl. And, man, that's a heck of a year right there for Mike Leach. But, man, Kiffin and Leach. Just Kiffin and Leach, man. What a combo that is in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah. 6-4, they'll beat Tennessee State. 7-4, Ole Miss. That game is on. Is that Thanksgiving night? I don't know if it is or not. No, probably 13th, 20th. Yeah, I think it is. I think it might be on Thanksgiving Day.
And Will Rogers is a fantastic young quarterback. I mean, just a sophomore, as she said, and so I think he's got he's going to take the world by storm. Not necessarily he's going to be, I'm not saying he's going to be Joe Burrow or anything, but he's going to be really stinking good moving forward, and having a guy like Leach at his back. Still got a couple years to play, so be curious to see what he does and how he continues to progress. But he's a good player.
They've played 10 games. He's thrown 538 passes. Do the math.
Yeah.
53.8 a game. Yeah.
I love that Mike Leach wants to adopt a kitten.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
He's funny, man. He's a different breed, and college football needs guys like that. They need people who are a little bit off the beaten path of just saying the same old cliched things over and over again about both teams playing hard and things like that. I like that he can venture out and start talking about Yellowstone or candy pumpkins or adopted kittens or whatever the case may be. I like that he can throw a little curveball in there, and I think that you're looking at the landscape of college football, and there's not necessarily a whole lot of those like just pure college coaches anymore, but Leach is certainly right there.
Personalities would be helpful.
Yeah,
I do think you have to be different, because I think for a long time, you had guys like Bowden and Spurrier and guys like that were personalities, but they were kind of the outliers, and that most coaches like, well, we're going to play so-and-so football, and we're going to do what we do, and we're going to turn on. Like, look, Dave Aranda's a personality. He's not a Mike Leach personality, but when you've got a guy talking about burnt waffles and the way, like, he's a philosopher. Dude. I mean, he lives on a level up here, and there's so many coaches that just didn't for a long time. They were so afraid of it to be a personality. But now that recruiting is a big thing and how you look and how you make comfortable, it's not. Yeah, you can't just be the old.
It's a good mixture. You're not everyone. There's some that because Dave Aranda was not a rah-rah guy that questioned about, could he lead a team? He's a very cerebral. Tony Dungy, more like that. He even mentioned that. I want to go one more thing. I was going to get to Will Rogers. He threw 67 and 62 passes in back-to-back losses to Memphis and LSU earlier this year. His least amount of attempts in a game was 39, and that was in a 36 of 39 passing performance in a win against then 12th ranked Kentucky.
Yeah, he throws the ball a lot. It's the air raid. I mean, that's what they do. That's what all the old Tech quarterbacks used to do. They throw it 50 times a game, whether it was Cumbie, Kingsbury, whoever you want to throw in there. That's what they did. That's what they do. That's what they'll always do with Mike Leach. But I would imagine that maybe a young Dave Aranda wasn't as open. I don't know. I didn't know him until about a year ago, and still don't even really feel like I know him. But from what I have been able to gather, I would love to sit in a room and just listen to Mike Leach and Dave Aranda talk football. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what kind of conversations they had at Tech back in the day when Aranda was just a young pup coach, but now I would love to see those two just go back and forth. Different personalities, but same passion for the game and same really insightful, deep thinking about not just the game but life. I think that would be cool.
Blake Robinson on the chat room. Will Rogers signed today an NIL with the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, very cool.
That's very
awesome.
cool. From Donnie Hand, Aranda has a very dry sense of humor, and I love it.
I have a very similar one, which is why some of the things he does laugh at, I find hilarious as well.
People, I think, eventually the media will all get it, but I think some people don't know he's kidding when he's kidding because he's got a monotone.
Paul, they clearly
don't. So they don't know he's kidding, and it's like, no, he's kidding.
They don't know that he's not kidding when he says something like the big eruption and laughter about, what was it he said a couple weeks ago about I don't even remember what it was, but he said something and everybody was laughing and laughing and laughing. I'm like, no, I think he's actually being serious, and he has a really great point. So yeah, people are still trying to figure him out a little bit.
Well, I mean, his nickname when he was a kid was Fence Post.
Yeah, Fence Post, because you could just sit there and never hear from him. He's just an intriguing story, and I'm getting to the point now where, like I even told Max Calderon today, I look forward to going up there and talking to him. It took me a while. Not that I didn't look forward to talking to a head football coach, but I had to kind of make sure that I was set. Not that I don't prepare, but I had to really kind of watch and listen to him and look back and listen to a couple of different media sessions and press conferences more than once to hear everything that he said. Like Nikki Lauderdale, she put up that tweet about the waffles in the middle seat of an airplane. That went right by me. I just like, whoa. So, all right, we're not done.
It helps to win, too. That makes conversations a lot more fun.
Keep it here?
Keep
okay.
it.
All right. Now, best college games of the week. In the Big 12's got some interesting ones, obviously, but of the rest of the games around the country, Arkansas now top 25. They play at number 2 Alabama. Oregon at Utah could be intriguing. Utah's playing well. SMU not in the top 25, but at 4th ranked Cincinnati. These are I guess these are AP poll. Michigan State, Ohio State. That's 2 top 5 or 6 teams. They play each other in Columbus. Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. Oklahoma State's a wrecking machine, but Texas Tech maybe getting their mojo with the freshman quarterback. Iowa State at Oklahoma, which at the start of the year you thought could be for not who gets home field advantage. The game's going to be at AT&T Stadium, but maybe a game 2 weeks later they play. Mm-hmm. Now both kind of not scratching and clawing. Oklahoma's still right there in the middle of it, but Iowa State's out of it. Baylor at Kansas State. This will be fun to watch. This should be a grind in that game. Also, I think that's about it as far as some of the games at the very top.
You ticked a mark next to Wake Forest and Clemson. Wake Forest should house Clemson.
Yeah, because they score so much and Clemson struggles doing that. All right. There was one other note that I put in here. Let's see here. The area code 832. I see all these other schools like Texas and Southern Cal struggling to find the right coach. Does anyone realize that Baylor is now nailed 3 consecutive coaching hires? Yeah, we brought this up last week with Briles, Rule, and Aranda. I shouldn't expect to keep getting this lucky. I hope Baylor does everything in their power to keep Dave Aranda long-term. He should be the highest-paid coach in the Big 12, top 5 in the country. We cannot afford to lose him. Remember, he was the highest-paid coordinator at $2.5 million a year. He's got a great contract.
Yeah, he does, and he's got a great situation. I mean, they just announced the football complex they're going to be building here in the near future.
And he's going to help design it, by the way. You hear about that?
No.
Yeah. He's going to help kind of put that thing together, which that would be good.
Is that what he mentioned in the interview?
No, I thought I saw that maybe Ashley Hodge and something he wrote in the premium section, that he's going to have a great deal to do with all of that, and I would let him paint the walls with colors he wanted as well.
And that's one thing that is an argument in the corner of him staying and not entertaining LSU or USC is, how much input do you get at places like that? Really, even if they really want you, how much input do you get? Because they're going to want you to just coach them up on the field. And look, if Baylor's going to do it, look, Scott Drew has a lot of input on what's going on and Nikki Collin will as well with the new basketball arena. They're going to have input about what they want. And sometimes I don't think that necessarily that happens. By the way, a quick note, Andrew Billings waived by the Browns, signing with the Dolphins.
Good for
Andrew.
Right. Yeah, good for Andrew.
Didn't even know he'd been waived, but that's good for Andrew to already have another opportunity. At least got a little bit of burn, made some money there in Cleveland, and sat out last year, obviously, but good to see him land on his feet. But yeah, I think that's smart to allow him to have input. I mean, who better to know how offices are going to be set up and how that would best work than guys who are in them every day and who have seen different facilities. But yeah, I mean, Aranda's going to stay on the tip of the tongue of a lot of people when it comes to coaching searches. I don't think for one second that it'd be smart to say he's never going to leave Baylor.
Sure.
I mean, that could happen next week. That could happen in 10 years, though. That's the thing, is we don't know. And so, like I said to Baylor fans earlier, enjoy him while you got him, and hopefully you got him for a long time, because he is one hell of a football coach. Still needs to go and prove it on the road.
Yep.
Because that is one mark where they have not checked that off just yet, but they can do that this weekend, and that would be a big win in Manhattan. But it's not going to be easy. But I have all of the faith in the world in Dave Aranda leading this program for however long he does, and so long as he does, they're going to be competitive every single year. This is a year where I think it was set up talent-wise so well that you're going to see a drop-off next season as far as Terrell Bernard, Jalen Petrie, Abram Smith. I mean, and guys can have that option to come back, but a lot of those guys have already been around for like 5 years. So they had it set up to where this was supposed to be a year where
the transfers in the offensive line and Mateos and Grimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that changed, but I mean, next year they're going to lose a lot, and we don't even know what coaches they could also still lose. But for what it is right now, enjoy it, because this is one hell of a football team.
This is what Ashley, and it's been up for a while, so I'm going to read it about Dave Aranda and many things he was discussing. A source telling him Aranda, he's happy here, burned out on the LSU mega program culture. He mentioned that to me, and he's mentioned that a couple of times. He's designing the football operations center to meet his needs and desires. He makes a ton of money. He has a great boss, and his family is happy in Waco, Texas. So those are just a couple of nuggets. Does that mean you still can't get money whipped? Sure.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, and who knows? Does he want to go back to Southern California one day? Or, I mean, we don't know. It's his own personal motivations, but I think that if he decides to stay, he's got a really good thing set up for the foreseeable future, for a lengthy foreseeable future. But going back to you were talking about coaching hires or something, and I just wanted to point out that, like, sometimes when you just go get the best candidate and you don't worry about making a splash, that's how you find a good head coach. I think that's what Texas runs into. I think that's what a lot of big programs run into.
It with USC, although
Helton won a big name. But, I mean, he was also on the job, and they're just like, okay, you stay and you be the guy. But, I think that so many times people try to make that splash hire or whatever the case may be. We'll see on Joey McGuire. Like, he might be a great head coach. He might not be. But what was he? He was a splash hire. And maybe not nationally, but in the state of Texas it was. And you saw that, like, in the aftermath of that announcement with all the THSCA stuff and the love they were getting for that. But, just go hire the best football coach. Don't worry about what the headlines are that come out of that.
All right, 41 of you gave us the thumbs up today. 6 of you did not. Well, we're sorry about who that might be. We try to bring it every single day, and we do, with what we bring when it comes to our coverage on 365 Sports and YouTube. Also, thanks to all of you who have watched. I know we have another segment to go, the top 5. We appreciate that. as well. Let's see here. From the 254, so I was just wondering, where and what was Joey McGuire doing this weekend?
Recruiting and working on Texas Tech. I mean, that's what he's going to do.
Watching them kick a 62-yard field goal to win the game. I mean, he was out in Lubbock and he was recruiting and all that stuff that comes with it most likely. And I don't know, they haven't made any staff announcements besides James Blanchard, who also left Baylor. But I would imagine that's also where we are in the season.
On Baylor's staff changes?
No, on Texas Tech hiring people is who are they going to hire right now?
Yeah,
I mean, they took 2 guys from Baylor midseason, but I mean, you're not going to go and announce your OC right now, I wouldn't think, because you've only got a couple of weeks left. So
could be Sonny Cumbie.
Very well might be Sonny Cumbie, and so that would answer one question. DC, I don't know who that's going to be, but I'm sure we'll start getting those announcements here over the next couple of weeks.
Baylor outside linebackers coach has been promoted. The problem has been you got to go through the protocol, and David Randall alluded to that in the post game to replace his outside linebackers coach, who's now the head coach at Texas Tech. I get the impression, and some of you have asked this, and I'm not going to get into it because it starts a whole nother thing, and we have the top 5 on Joey McGuire in a couple of weeks here in Waco. I got a feeling the last place he really wants to be is in Waco. Some of you have asked me about that. That would be, you talk about how maybe bitter or frustrating or emotional. Imagine what it would be like for him. Some of you don't care about it anymore, and I get that. I understand. But I got a feeling that's the last place he wants to be is in Waco when they play Texas Tech in 2 weeks. When we come back, Paul Catalina's controversial, sometimes very searing, the responses to his top 5 next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. We've been talking for, it feels like 2 or 3 months now about the supply chain challenges that have made cars and trucks hard to find across the country. Well, GM just announced here over the last couple of weeks that, yes, production has slowed, but don't worry, cars and trucks are coming. And right now you can contact Richard Carr to get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac vehicle as they are being shipped. Drive a new car or truck sooner by getting on the inbound vehicle list over at Richard Carr. You can get your car or truck first as they arrive. In terms of options, if you're looking for a pickup, well, Richard Carr has the GMC Sierra. It's an ideal combination of power and strength, refinement, luxury. Sierra is the best truck on the road. If you're more looking for SUVs, well, there's a line of Buicks. The Buick lineup offers size and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Or perhaps you're just looking for a great combination of not only sophistication, but also power, also luxury. Well, check out the Cadillac XT6 or the all-new Escalade. Cars and trucks are coming, so call or contact Richard Carr with what you want and let them get you on their inbound vehicle list today to get your vehicle before anyone else. And if you're looking to save and drive today, you're not so much worried about getting a new vehicle. Well, they are also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All have undergone a 172-point inspection. And with dozens of lenders, Richard Carr says yes when others say no, as 100% credit approval is always their goal. So go online or come by for a test drive today. And for those in the greater Waco area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with free oil changes on new cars and trucks. Great prices, as well as superior service after the sale. Richard Carr, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 things Texas needs to do in the offseason. This is from the fans to Steve Sarkisian all the way up and down.
Remember when you did one of these with the defensive coordinator who I said I didn't know his name, and I got just lambasted by Texas fans because he was, I should have known.
Craig got it worse because he's like, I don't know anything about people.
No, I just said I don't know a lot about him, and I was grilled. Say, how could you not know about Coach K and all his greatness? How do you say his
name? And
no, I mean,
now he wishes you don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, and it was just simply I don't know much about him. In the months since I even said that, I've learned a lot more about a whole lot of college football because we've turned into more of a national show. But at the time, when we were Big 12 Baylor based, and I don't know everything about everybody, but I've sure learned a lot about him now, and I don't think he's necessarily the main problem either. But, that is kind of funny in hindsight how defensive people got, and you just lost to Kansas on Saturday in Austin. So.
You gave up 57 points, too.
Yeah, to the third-string quarterback.
Was Sarkisian's comment today about a third of the roster changing over was a shot at Tom Herman in recruiting?
No, I think it was a shot at the guys.
The culture?
The culture.
I think it was another bad sign is what it was.
Yeah. All right, number 5, embrace the reality of your situation. I think this is something that Texas has not done. I think that they, as a fan base, as a university, as an institution, think that they are just one guy away from fixing this. That the players, the biggest thing is, it's clear to me that the players, and it should be clear to them, the players that you need to win conference titles and be in the CFP conversation are not all there. But because people listen to recruiting rankings strictly, they say, well, they've got so much talent. Do they? Do they really?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. And maybe they've not done a good job of identifying talent that's going to reach its peak while it's at Texas and not its peak before it gets there. And I think that they have not and also embrace the fact that you are a mediocre program for more than a decade now. That is the one thing they have not done.
Yeah, the best year they had since they went to 2009, the national championship. The best year they've had, they lost 4 games. When they beat Oklahoma, then lost to them in the Big 12 game, and then beat Georgia.
And that isn't like 5 years. That's 12 years now we're talking about, where they've dropped it, at least 4 games every single year? I mean.
Seemed like it close
to
it.
Yeah, so I think the whole, We're Texas thing is great, and people have fun with that. But I think the whole We're Texas thing is also why it's taken this to realize, oh, wow, we are way farther away than we probably realized we were. And look, what if they would have beaten Oklahoma earlier this year? You know, I mean, how different everything looks and how everything's fallen apart really since that game for them. But, yeah, I think there is a lack of reality at times that just because you have the name and the money that's all that matters, and that's going to automatically just plummet or throw you to the front of the mix always, and that's clearly not the case. And we've got 12 years of evidence now.
Yeah. Number 4, trust Sark's process. I mean, I know that he's on the hot seat all of a sudden, but you can't fire coaches every year. It's just not going to work. So you really have to just get out of his way and let him do his thing and see if it works.
Yeah, it's funny because when I did my power rankings last week, I wrote on Texas, I was like, there's no way they lose to Kansas, right? And because I just, I had that thought in the back of my head of like, man, I certainly didn't predict the loss. So I think the scary part about this, Paul, is whether or not you believe that he can figure out the process. Mm-hmm. Maybe he can. And I know there's going to be some coaching changes, and there's certainly going to be a lot of roster turnover. But is that going to fix it? Is that what needs to change? Or, is Sark a guy who's going to regularly lose 3 and 4 games every year? I mean, when they hired him, that certainly wasn't the thought. When they hired him, this season certainly isn't what they pictured. He was big money, talking about splash hires. That was a splash hire. They had him ready to go the moment Tom Herman got his last bag out the door. They were ready to announce Sark. So I would be very nervous about just whether or not, even if he does get people to trust the process, whether that process is going to turn into what they hired him for.
Yeah. Number 3, figure out your QB in the spring. I think this would really help them going forward into the offseason if they know who the starter is after the spring. But they didn't know it after last spring. They didn't know it after the summer, and I don't think they really know it right now.
Well, Casey Thompson's way better than Hudson Card.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I think Casey Thompson plays that whole game, they win that game. But, yeah, I think to your credit, one thing you've been saying all year is you don't think they have the actual guy on campus, and I think that's now pretty abundantly clear that the great Texas quarterback that's going to lead them out of this abyss is probably not either Casey Thompson or Hudson Card. So is that their big 5-star recruit that'll be coming in, whose name is
Malik
Murphy, or is that a transfer portal guy? I don't know, but yeah, they definitely have something to figure out there, and it's been handled interestingly, to say the least. So yeah, that's a big one right there.
Yeah. Number 2, hire a new defensive coordinator. Sorry, Coach K. Sorry, buddy, but.
Well, how many have they been through?
Yeah.
That's one of the things.
You're right. But Dave Aranda, and then on the example, when it wasn't working and he could see it wasn't working, he just cut it off at the knees. With Fedora and Wickline and Munoz, wasn't working. It's not an indictment of them as coaches overall. This does not work here.
And that wasn't a booster issue like sometimes other places like the one you're talking about. That was him reacting.
Him reacting, and look what's happened. So I wouldn't say do this every year, but right now you're in your first year and the second staff's always the better one. Do that. Hire a new DC. Your defense is a huge problem. It doesn't complement your offense. It's a scheme thing.
Stop hiring the biggest name coordinator like they've done many, many times, even back in the days of Muschamp or whatever. Ron Roberts was not a big name defensive coordinator. He's at the University of Louisiana, right? Doesn't mean he wasn't a well-known guy in the coaching profession. He's been perfect complementary to what Dave Aranda. Those two together have been fantastic.
Yeah, I think Texas suffered from losing some pretty good pieces, like Osai, for example, from last year's team. I don't know, man, that's going to be really interesting to see because I don't know if you feel like you've seen enough at this point to say he's definitely not going to be able to figure it out if we make a bunch of changes, like personnel-wise. Like, how much does that help out? Or just, I don't know, but there are going to be some heads that roll, that's for sure, and that would be a big one. That's going to be interesting.
Now, part of this is also when I go back to accept the reality of situation, accept the reality of who Steve Sarkisian has been as a head coach. He's never been a guy who's had big-time defenses.
Yeah.
Washington didn't have a big-time defense. USC, not there long enough to even comment about it, but Washington was not a school that they did not have a big-time defense.
Well, yeah, one of the things at Raymond and Waco, the scary part of the loss to Kansas was that they gave up 57
points.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the fact that they were able to come from behind, get a lead, and still lost the game in overtime, and to lose it on a 2-point conversion. But yeah, I mean, that's I'm really intrigued by what he does to change up the staff. I mean, you mentioned Aranda and what he did, and that was I mean, A++ on there.
A quick and emphatic change.
Yeah. Yep. And number one, send the malcontents into the portal. And part of this is, like he said it today, there might be 33 new players on this team. He's got to get people who are at the University of Texas because they want the University of Texas to be better. And look, the three of us make fun of Texas all the time, and I'm going to tell you right now, Texas, you deserve it. Everyone deserves to be made fun of. Everyone in the world really deserves to be made fun of. And we're making fun of you, and it's all in good fun. But I'm telling you this, and this is coming from someone who dyed in the wool, does not like you. But this is the school that had Earl Campbell and Vince Young and Ricky Williams and guys like that. And those guys did not come about being Longhorns lightly. Tommy flippin' Nobis, they took it seriously. And this is a group of players who clearly doesn't. So are you the University of Texas that has this great history that has guys with statues outside? Or are you just a bunch of guys who wear orange on your shirts? That is
the reaction you get sometimes from the fans, and I know that this is about the players, is but we've beaten A&M like 78 out of 103 times, or Baylor 72 and 12, or what. That doesn't matter anymore. There's a lot of teams like Florida and Nebraska, et cetera. They're all floundering. That doesn't matter. Kids today don't remember all that.
Nobody points to all-time records after wins.
No.
I mean, no one does that. You only talk about it when you're on the losing end of things. It's like, but we've beaten you 50 more times in history. Well, what about in 2021? Because that's really all that matters at the moment. So
since 2010, excuse me, Craig, Texas has lost 66 games. In Mac Brown's history, when he was there, he lost 48, and including a couple of those years I mentioned. That's where they are right now.
Yeah, we got to run, but I want to say I don't want to put all the blame on the players either. And and I don't think there's probably a ton of malcontents. I think there's some guys that are frustrated. I think there's probably guys like Joshua Moore that did need to get out of the program for them to take a step forward. But I don't think it's like a bad bunch of guys by any means. And I don't think there's some immense lack of talent. I think they do have some, not as much as they are hyped up to usually have, which is pretty much every year in most cases. But yeah, I mean, if there are Sarkisian's got a lot of work to do. Bottom line, he has got a lot of work to do. I think Coach K will probably be back on defense based on what Sarkisian said today. But there's going to have to be some heads that roll here in a couple of weeks. And like I said earlier, just very intrigued by how Sark goes about this because he doesn't have more mulligans after this one.
Michael Goodrich, the doctor, can you guys speak to the fact, maybe tomorrow, we don't have time to do it, every school that has left either the Big 12 or the Southwest Conference has gone on to, frankly, mediocrity since they left. We'll get into that, and I'm sure there's some good to that.
Texas won a national title after they did, so...
What?
After they left the Southwest Conference.
No. He's talking about teams that left the old Southwest.
Like Missouri, Colorado, Nebraska, all those
Arkansas,
teams.
et cetera. Okay. All right, when we come back, that's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Thanks to Paul Catalina for the top 5. You can get on. I'll get on that text line tonight again for those who watch the replay. I'll kind of monitor that and try to respond to you. For Craig Smoak, Jack McKenzie in the studio. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. Tomorrow, Utah State head coach Blake Anderson, AD Mac Rhodes at Baylor, and more. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Thank you. Thank you for watching, listening, and to our incredible sponsors. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.